today with commentary should serve as kind of like a playbook for going from Premier or low pro to high pro, right? Making the jump from being a good team or a solid Premier player to being the best team in the world, or, you know, one of those teams, like one of those top 3 teams. Certainly with the ability to beat the best team in the world, they did plenty of that. Okay, Will gets the ball back. It's got to be high. We do get a high call. That one actually might have been clean. Looked like... Okay, Matt did not get high enough. Interesting. I think they got a little bit of help with that call. I think that might have actually been clean. Which is crazy considering it was like 6 feet off the ground. Okay. They did this so well last weekend. A great set by Matt, and Clapp bombs it. Really well done. Goes and gets it, brings it back. The hardest thing in round net, and they can execute. I'm guessing we're going to see a double fault. Nope, on. And he just attacks Matt. No theory, just you're in my way. Your partner's in the wrong spot. I'm attacking your body. Easy game. And they are going to play this one. That's an interesting set. Will just doesn't quite get a handle on it. Yeah, I don't love that set. I'm actually going to go out and say I really dislike this set. There are a lot of sets that Clapp can give Matt that lead to a pretty dead point where you just win the point immediately. I feel like that set over there is a little bit less useful. Yeah, dear Jesus, that's right. I'm actually going to turn some audio on. You can listen in to what people are saying in game. Clapp wants to make the net just how he likes it. I don't love Clapp's positioning. I think he can get a little bit closer a little bit sooner. Or I actually don't hate giving Coleman a little bit of room there and trying to make a hands play as opposed to, you know, just putting the body in the way and hoping we get a touch. Yeah, either get to the net a little earlier and cramp Coleman, or give him a little bit of space and let yourself have an opportunity to make a crazy play. Yeah, good call. Bad swing. This is a bad serve choice, I'll even say. Like, Matt Cole's reverse at this point is not far enough along for him to be swinging for it. Oh boy. Very nice serve. Kind of handled by Coleman. Where's Clapp? Clapp is just so super late, I guess. I wonder if they're still running the split and read. I don't think they are. I think they're running much more of a tracker loop where Clapp would be going around instead of Matt kind of going off to his right and playing a split and read. I wonder what we're going to see Matt. I think Matt's ability to get wide on the serve receive has greatly improved. Because I don't see him getting aced by serves of that low quality as much. We saw him receive Gabe pretty well. Next time he receives, we'll take another peek at his footwork and see how bad it is. That's terrible footwork, but it looks high. Where's, like, Clapp actually steps away from this ball.
You just did distribute for your friend.
Yeah. Terrible to step away from the ball. He needs to drop the left hip, not the right hip there.
Thinking about her being sad. I love you so much. You know,
I think I still know where we're at, though.
Six.
Why are we lagging? Sorry about that. I'm lagging a ton on this thing. This thing needs to load.
For last week, and thank you so much. And people have another invitation tonight, so vote for them and all of your favorites. Right. Thanks, Julie. And all the way, we've got salsas, salsas, and cha-cha more. Plus, a tango.
Here it is. Yeah. So, I mean, modern footwork would be drop the left foot, not the right foot there. Clap dropping the right foot opens up the cut and then leaves his left hip open for the push. I'm not sure about that call, but definitely bad footwork from Clap. Double fault from Coleman. Clap firing away. I think this is an ace. Yeah, not quite. Really good receive. Really good hit. Matt Cole out of position, and Will makes a good read on him. Wilk takes a timeout, it looks like. And I mean, if there's anything Clap has ever been good at, it is hitting the ball far at a high trajectory. Something actually not very easy to do. Yeah, as we continue with this, any thoughts from y'all? Especially Colton. I'm curious to hear what you thought. You got to watch everything from home in England, and oh boy, that's bad.
I think what shocks me the most in comparison is how much the serve receive has changed, especially Matt. And defensively, I think they're running. I think you were right. They run tracker loop now, and they're also much tighter with the angles they cut off. On a lot of these receives, Clap's been like drifting out past the 7-foot line, but especially this last weekend, he often gets around really quick and really tight. And then just much cleaner setting, much cleaner side outs.
That's an unbelievable set right there, though.
The recovery setting in this game, actually both of these games, has been really on point.
I think when we think about teams that are kind of like cuspy, it's a lot of the skills where you consider like highlight worthy, like the recovery setting, the ability to hit off net and get the ball on with good power and keep a rally going, that they've always been like really good players at. It's just been a matter of starting rallies for them and finding those first touches. And I think to your point of them like closing down angles much quicker at this point, as opposed to in these games we're watching from USAR, I think you're dead on the money. And I hadn't really considered the rate of closure. Do you think they're much closer to the net now than they used to be?
Yeah, I'd say almost like 1 to 2 steps closer.
Yeah. And I think that's really tough as a hitter with Clap having the height that he does, because as soon as we start getting Clap a little bit closer and involved, his ability to roof the ball is really unparalleled. I mean, we haven't had a roof player like that since Drucker, where he can just go up, climb the ladder, and you're just not hitting it over him. What did you think of Clap's receive? So I haven't seen the Rogue games or much of the in-system games. What did you think of Clap's receive on them? Did he still drift, or was he kind of locked in this weekend?
Their receives and holds were locked in enough that I felt like Rogan and System were almost pushing their serves and felt like they had to hit a good serve to ace them rather than just hit one of their... I mean, all of their serves are good, but they had to hit a great serve to ace them rather than just hit a good serve. And I think that put more pressure on them and also created some double faults.
I think that's an especially important observation when it comes to Blake and Thomas. I think that Blake especially starts to struggle when he leaves his like oh dear be when Blake starts to leave his normal serve swings, the quality of his serving really falls off a cliff because he's just so practiced on his like mainline serves, right? He's grinded them so hard that he can hit them every time. But if he tries to overdo it, I think the serve quality
watching
really starts to fall off.
Where are they watching Airbuds? Yeah.
We are watching Airbuds. I don't know who's, but yeah. Yeah, this for reference, why we're watching this, Matt Cole sent me this and said that these were games where Kingdom Come played well in 2022. And we wanted to kind of get a feel for what this team looks like in 2022. And watching them, I see an unbelievable serve baller in Clap. And kind of questionable decision makers from both of them, not playing certain serves, making some hitting decisions that aren't necessarily the best every time, and then setting that is not feeding the partner his best or favorite set of shots to hit, if that makes sense. Like that set from Clap right there is not what Matt Cole wants. He wants it, other side of the net there. Oh, that's really nice. We're seeing Clap kind of a little bit further and deeper on defense, as Colton points out. I see just a less refined, less organized team. Yeah, I really do want to encourage other people in here to make their observations if they see various things that I kind of haven't pointed out. But yeah, if I were to play this team that we're watching right now, if I were to play that team today, my thought process would be we want to play a lot of points against them and let them make errors. We want to serve them together. We want them to be standing next to each other on most of their receives. We don't really want to be serving them apart and kind of force them to do difficult things and just accept that their serve receive is going to be sketchy regardless of whether or not we push our best serves out. Yeah. Coleman in an interesting spot there. Not sure I love their decision making. Airbuds, I mean. Let's see what we get. I think this is going to be the winner coming up here. As Kingdom Come wins this game. Okay. Get wrecked, Coleman. Any thoughts from you, Scott? I know Jacob's in here as well. Jensen's in here. Got a bunch of people that know a bunch of stuff about RoundNet. Anybody else seeing anything super interesting that jumps off the page that we have to talk about? There might not be anything, but there might be something.
I think one other thing worth mentioning is if you compare their setting in these two games to the tournament last weekend, their setting angles in these two games were very, very flat, and they're often low sets kind of hitting back towards the net, where their sets right now have much more of an arc and a lot more time. And I think that's also contributed to their improved hitting or better hitting choices because they're getting a little bit more time to read it as well as easier hits.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with that assessment, Colton. Fully intended to even get to that point a little later on. But I think that the single biggest improvement that I saw from this team was the change in setting trajectory. which would allow them to play with a much improved hitting trajectory because they were giving each other these setting trajectory variations. The higher, loopier we give a player a set, the more options we're giving him to hit trajectory variation. And when you have two super high power swingers like these two guys, trajectory variation is going to kill. They also didn't do that when setting. So I think you've probably hit the nail on the head with what I would say is probably the most important differentiating factor. I am curious to see a little bit about setting form. Because I think Clapp has actually changed the way he sets the ball a little bit. We'll keep watching though. Oh boy, what a swing. Clapp way too far again. It seems that, and this is an interesting observation, but it seems that Clapp is almost afraid of the speed and is trying to just scoop back to handle the speed better. And this is opening up the angle, when in fact he should probably just eat the speed, accept that, and take the value that he gets out of playing the longer, wider angles. And give up some value on serve receiving fast serves. But I mean, maybe that's just a function of being a better, more experienced player a year and a half later from this video. Yeah, we get a high call. It's kind of funny watching some of these old high calls where it's just not even close, and the dude is Coleman's pissed. I will note, Matt Cole is standing much taller on receive than he does now. Matt Cole would never stand that tall on receive these days. Grant Clapp's also standing very tall. If we watch how, like kind of the angle that his knees make, he's also standing pretty tall. Oh, that's a great hand. That's something that hasn't changed. Clapp has always been really good with his hands on the net and at the net. We're taking a timeout here. If I recall, Airbuds kind of stomps him in this third game, but I could be wrong. I was at this tournament. Oh boy. Left hand set. Let's check that's got a good, nice little arc to it. But I definitely agree with you, Colton, that the setting is a little bit flatter than it was, and it's definitely not off net on the left hand for Matt.
I'm trying to pay attention to his setting form now that you mentioned it, but I can't tell yet. I can picture his form today.
Yep.
But I just have to look at more past sets to compare.
I think that Clapp had more of a stick set in the old version and less of kind of the motion, where his set today really is almost like a stroke, where he makes a little circle with his hand and builds momentum through the ball, which I think is really good. I really like Clapp's form now, but I think in some of these older ones, it's a little bit more sticky, where he just kind of puts his hands out, braces, and lets the ball bounce where it bounces. That's a really good receive from Matt. And this is exactly like the set that I mean. Watch how he just kind of sticks his hand.
And it's not really hitting up through the ball. It's almost hitting across diagonally.
Yeah. He's not coming as low to high as he does now. He also set that ball, I feel like he likes to set it from lower now. Not to say that he set that from upstairs, but I feel like he really waits well. My word, what a serve. I know that there's an insane serve later in this series against Will. Interesting. Interesting serve receive form there from Matt. Not sure about that. Oh, serve preparation. The good old dig a hole. Oh, great serve. Somebody's trying to watch the stream from the bar. Yeah, again, Colton. I don't think we would ever see Matt Cole do that at this point. I think the set would be much, much higher, and his thought would be just let Clap figure out the hit.
And I think Matt might also set from a lower point now as well. That set he almost set with his arm already bent kind of high up. Now
Yeah.
I think he lets it get like 6 inches lower, maybe more.
I think this is the more Kingdom Come set that we're seeing more of today. That set there from Clap. It seems like I'm actually like wondering if this is a footwork change, that Clap is going out and getting around the ball more and kind of empowering himself to make better sets, not by actually changing the setting form, but changing the footwork in preparation to make a better set. Let's see what we got here, Clap. Double fault. Will's going to look for the ball. I know Will wins this game at some point. Great spot. Will wants a no-hit zone call, and I don't think he's going to get it. He does get a redo, though. Great hand from Will. Oh, interesting. What is Clap doing on defense here? Clap just kind of lets Will into the cookie jar. I want to see this, yeah, what is that set from Clap? No preparatory footwork. Sets his feet. Sets over his shoulder. Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. It's always funny to see like somebody make a decision like that, like Clap does there. And like this is a really small decision not to move his feet and give that nice arching set, but to just set over his shoulder. And I think that actually limits Matt Cole's like trajectory variation a good degree and makes this touch a lot easier for Will. I mean, obviously Will finds a really good hand, but like such a small decision there to not execute a better set leads to this.
It was kind of like an old Preston Buys set to me.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that defenders are just too good at using their hands at the net now that we really do need a lot of trajectory variation in order to keep people honest. Like,
Yeah.
trajectory variation has come so far. Oh, that was wild. Is that a fault? I actually don't know if that's a fault. Yeah. We'll definitely continue to cover trajectory variation in the Joe Bondi Ryan Gross series, as Spotless is, gosh, they are so good at the net in controlling trajectory variation. Really good hit. Nice little set there. Sketchy serve receive. Watching these games, when I watch these games, my thought process is this is what Kingdom Come roundnet looks like. Even to the point of the end of last year, I think that Matt Cole made big strides as a serve receiver. Beginning of this year, end of last year, but I don't know that past that I would think of Kingdom Come being a very different team from the team that we're currently watching. And I think that there's likely a good chance that a lot of other people had also, kind of taken that perspective, when in actuality they were a pretty different team than we're watching right now, as we really start to break down some film and look a little more deeply. Yeah, and that doesn't happen as much. Absolutely crippling as a player to just walk up to the rim and thump the ball into the rim. To sit there as Matt Cole and watch him do that is rough. Does it feel like Will Picone is getting a lot of serves? Yeah, another bad set from Clapp. I wonder if he moves his feet there, though. Let's take a peek. He does a good job with his feet. He just shanks the set. That's an unbelievable hit. I don't know how you track the ball over your shoulder like that. Like, how do you find it on your left hand as you swing that hard? Man is 4 feet from the net. What is Clapp doing? Why is he so far? Did they do this? There's no way they did this. Colton, you watched all the games. Did you see them do this?
Not anymore.
Okay. Yeah, because Clapp starts 14 feet from the net there and doesn't get any closer than 12 feet at any point in this point.
Clapp still doesn't start like on the line, but most of the time this weekend he was starting maybe a foot off the line, maybe even 2 feet max,
Interesting.
but definitely not that far back.
Bad set. They kind of get away with it. Yeah, I guess my takeaways from this first series, let's kind of go through them. Claps, serve, receive is way too far. I'm going to make this a little more organized. Clap just making errors. Matt. The recovery setting is not amazing, but it's still pretty good. And the stick setting is wonderful. They each botched 2 sets, though. I think the hitting, both are making errors and occasional suboptimal decisions. Clap is hitting a lot of rim. And choosing bad flicks. Defense lost. Very feel-based. When they put bodies at the net, they find a lot of hands. And touches. Cool. Richmond 2023.
I'd also add Matt's serve receive that he's
Yep.
not getting as wide as quickly.
I agree with that. It's another
I
good
think it might be
observation.
footwork or just the way he's turning his hips. He might be leaving them more open than he does now.
He's not covering as much angle as he needs.
Could also be Westpac workout plan. Thanks.
It could be a good degree of athleticism. I mean, Matt is certainly a good bit lighter these days. I'm at no point really gonna mention the serving because the serving hasn't changed. They're still really good at serving, and they've always been really good at serving. So
I also want to say Clap's footwork while he's hitting is way better now. Like he forced himself into a lot of those flicks in that series.
I think more so than the footwork being bad, he's just not moving his feet at all.
Yeah, like he's getting overset, kind of jammed, and he just chooses to flick right towards us. So he's just running to the net, setting, and hoping for a set on his left hand, or he was in that series.
I like that term. I have the feeling... So I have never watched this series, and I don't know what it looks like. That last USAR one I watched live, but I haven't seen this. I'm excited for this. Interesting. Matt, I mean, Clap does that really well. I also would say I never want to see him do that. Like, I think that's the epitome of what you're saying there, Will. Him winding up stuck in some of those spots is terrible. They're going to play this. Good. Oh, wow. What a push from Joe. This looks much more like the setting that we saw this weekend. Another interesting thing to point out there, though. Clap is kind of not participating. He's a little bit boxed out of the set, but he doesn't fill. And I think Matt definitely expects him to fill as Matt kind of takes that step to the left to cover the lefty wraps, etc. I do want to see how their defense has changed. They're in good spots there, though. They are still... It looks like Clapp has intention to go get this ball and is just leaving really late. Cool to see him like taking on the tracker loop though. And we saw them run that tracker loop super effectively last week. The footwork is already looking a good bit more dynamic though. Matt's setting is still pretty similar. As Colton, you pointed out, it kind of has that like hinge to it where he just kind of sticks the hand out and lets it happen. And I think that he still generally sets like that today. I don't think there's anything wrong with it if you're successful. Oh boy. Yeah, they just didn't expect to play that point, I think.
I think now he sometimes does it the same way when he's trying to almost give the defense less time. But when the defense is already in good positions or when he just needs to give his partner more time, I feel like now his sets have a much longer like swing path and he follows through a lot more.
Yeah. I mean, that's a hard thing though to teach, like when to identify that you need to be giving a different set than just putting it where your partner wants it. Like there's more to it than that, where it's sometimes you need to put it in a different place depending on where that defense is set up, or give him the ability to vary his trajectory by giving him that high arcing set. Boy, oh boy, can Clapp serve.
I also might be remembering a different series, but I think this series had very, very different games 1 and 2. So it'll be interesting to compare those two as well.
Yeah. Good receive. I love that take. I don't love that Clapp is deciding to hit into 2 defenders, but I love that trajectory. That ball is... I mean, this hit is probably undefendable in actuality. Yeah, well said, Luke. Luke Nickel in the background. Home run. 100%. Okay. Somebody needs to get muted. No way we get a simul call there. Is that what I heard? Oh my goodness. Ryan with the insta simul call. No hesitation. Clapp seems to be receiving at a pretty reasonable distance. Oh, I hate that take. I think that's really terrible from Matt. I don't care that Matt got the point. I don't think you should hit it at Joe there. Great spots from Joe and Ryan. So tough when Clapp is just going to choose that monster high trajectory. This set probably facilitates that high trajectory swing. Let's see how much arc he gives him. So that set kind of coming from behind Clap, so he does get a lot of, angle to work with, but I'm surprised he's able to build that much trajectory out of his set that low. He works with it really well and gets his body over it. I think he's a little bit off net, and that's why he's able to use that much trajectory. Kind of in that donut area of the no-hit zone. Little fault discussion. Let's see. Yeah, and this is exactly what we talked about just there, Colton. A little bit less trajectory than Matt probably wanted, as he's still getting up and getting ready to hit. And Ryan Gross reads trajectory, we'll call it like range trajectory cap, as Matt is super capped in what he's going to be able to do with his trajectory variation. And whenever that happens, you have Ryan Gross at the net, the ball's probably coming up off of his hands. Gosh, Ryan makes it look super easy in that last point, though. Oh boy, we take 3 points. I think Ryan just whiffed it. He did just whiff it. That's funny. It's interesting to see Spotless run a follow here. I don't think anyone is running a follow on lefty hitters at this point in roundnet. I suppose Joe and Ryan would be the only ones. I love Ryan sitting there going, get around, go, go, go. Great communication. But Joe really leaves way too late. Joe needs to already be around Matt Cole for this to have any success. And Clap can identify and just punish immediately. Sorry to harp on this point, but I think this is actually a really important point, as Spotless is running a defense that is designed to kind of pick up this touch on this point exactly, like in a vacuum. If you run a follow, you want to win this point. So to not win this point is kind of really bad. Like, to not at least get a touch there is really frustrating. But once again, nobody's running a follow on the left side, and Joe's clearly not used to it. This is their first tournament together. Joe's just so late. He is so late. Let's watch it again. At this point, Joe needs to already have taken his first step left. At this point, Joe should be already left of Matt Cole. And at this point, Joe should be deciding whether or not he's going to make the big long run away from the net, or whether he's going to step in and climb the ladder and roof this ball. And Joe hasn't done any of these steps. Ryan knows that this needs to be happening, as we hear from his communication. And Joe's just late. Not to say that that Joe's bad or he doesn't know what he's doing, but this is clearly like a very annoying spot on defense. In fact, Gabe and I were so aware of this. We chose not to run a follow at all against this team, and we just went immediately to a tracker loop. We didn't think there was going to be any value in running a follow against a team like Kingdom Come, especially when Clap comes up to the net, just because we knew we would be so uncomfortable rotating left like this that we said we're not going to bother with it. There's like 2 or 3 points where we run a follow only because of the serves that we know we're intending to choose. Really good receive, actually, by Joe, and Clap does that so well. Let's watch the set from Rygro. That's a good set from Gross. Joe not making the best hitting decision. Let's see if it's bad or if it's just not the best. Oh, we cannot go frame by frame. Yeah, I think this hitting decision is He just needs to go high with it. He needs to trajectory variation. He's not going to beat Clap with angle. Clap has him covered up for angle. This needs to be a pop into the net instead of a flick. I don't know if Joe has that shot, though. He definitely doesn't use it very often, if he does have it. Sorry to step away from pure Kingdom Come commentary. I will say, Clap has been amazing at that kind of cover somebody's angle up and make them hit trajectory variation for years. Like, for a long time, he has done that just so much better than everyone else. Am I missing stuff? I'm open to takeaways. There's probably 15, 20 people in this call right now. I would really love to hear what y'all have to say, because I'm sure I'm missing interesting content.
Is Casey running tracker loop at this point?
Let's take another look. They kind of have just been running more split and read. I haven't... My perception of the last game was that they were running split and read. I'll discuss it when we get to kind of one of these serving spots.
Okay.
Well, let's watch this. Honestly, I don't think there's anything wrong with that serve receive from Matt Cole. It looks like he just misses the ball in the sun. Maybe he needs to stay down more, but... Oh boy. Clap needs to get his feet down. Feet in transition as the ball's hitting the net. This is actually a really good set from Clap. Matt Cole can do a lot with this set because it has so much time. He can backhand bomb it. He can lefty push it. He can backhand flick it. So I actually really like that set. Let's see where they go. So a pure tracker loop here would be sending Matt Cole around to the backhand and the forehand. I think they're going to run a split and read in these kinds of spots. I think if Matt were to be the server here, they would run a... They would still kind of run a split and read. Yeah, they might run a tracker loop on Joe. I'm not sure. But I think in this spot, they're just going to run a split and read. They don't really love sending Matt around the corner. They do run a split and read. They get in great spots. And Matt just kind of misses the hit. Let's watch this again. I love this split step from Matt. He reads this really well. This is a great defensive spot. As he goes back into the wrap, I think. Yep. Back into the wrap with the body turn. Matt is so tall that he gets to cover like a lot of trajectory with a lot of these decisions. It's very easy for him to work low to high and get very high up because he is so tall. He needs to kill that ball. I think he misses a step in transition here. Right here, he needs to take another step. He should not be sedentary here. There needs to be another split step in preparation to hit this ball where he kind of takes a step away from the net so that he can get his chest over the net and be prepared to make a good hit. And he is a little bit more sedentary. Yeah, I would like to see him kind of give the net a little bit more room so that he can step into that hit with more thump. Not to say there's anything wrong with this, but I think it can be done better. I also think he doesn't take another look at the net. Let's see. Yeah, he doesn't look back at the net, which would probably be useful there. Nitpicking. I'm definitely nitpicking. Oh, very nice. This is kind of one of the strengths of KC. I don't know that this was necessarily talked about much this year prior to this point, but they do a really good job in these kind of like broken play rallies where stuff just starts happening at the net because they are so tall and they have such good reactions. When they're at the net, they stay low really well. So they tend to do a really good job in these broken play rallies. This set from Clapp is really bad. I would say Matt Cole does a really good job with his footwork to put himself in a good spot to hit this ball, and the set is just short on the left hand. I don't know that I love Matt Cole's decision to use the left hand here. I think he should be ripping that backhand instead of wasting his time with the left. Well handled. There's another flick from Clapp. One thing that I noted when I played Clapp, I cannot think of a flick that Clapp hit against us. Anytime anything was on the right hand, like in this point, Clapp would just kind of reach around the net and pull the heck out of it with his right hand. And watching him approach this, I fully expected to see righty wrap, and he hits backhand pull. So I'm pretty surprised to see that from Clapp there. I know he used to flick a ton, but I really think he was flicking a lot less at Nationals or STS Championship. I think if Ryan Gross produces this serve, it's going to be an ace on Matt Cole at any time. Maybe if he tries to go for like 6 in a row of that serve, then Matt would adjust. But until that point, that serve's going to be an ace. Okay. Once again, these sets are limiting. Clapp definitely wants more height on that set so that he can do more with it. Oh, this is bizarre. I do want to talk about this defense because it's weird and it doesn't make any sense. It seems that Matt Cole has in his mind that they're going to run a tracker loop here as Matt Cole kind of waits for Clapp to go, goes back to the left of the setter, and then goes in front of the setter after the set has been made when he should just go around the setter. Clapp isn't going anywhere. He needed to just go around the setter. What a miracle touch. Weird point.
I think as we get closer to their current defense, when Clapp's serving, they often still do split and read. But when Matt's serving, they'll often go to tracker loop. So my guess is he was expecting Clapp to track, and Clapp didn't. And then he was quickly adjusting.
This isn't shocking. I wouldn't be surprised if they've kind of made a conscious note that Matt Cole is a better push defender than Clapp, and Clapp is potentially the best pull/roof defender out there, him and Clark. Just because of his extreme height, it gives him the ability to roof from so much further from the net than everyone else. So I wonder if that's been a conscious decision or if that's kind of just happened in some notable points. We'll keep watching and see what we find. Yeah, so here would be Clapp serve, Matt on his right. So we would assume Clapp will split and read with Matt here. And he will indeed. They're actually not in bad spots. I don't know that Matt Cole should be this far. I think Matt would be better served to step in as opposed to try and leave there. And there's the tracker loop that we were just talking about. That makes sense. That's a terrific receive. And once again, Clapp, unbelievable at hitting the over-the-shoulder set. Like, I don't know how Clapp ever picks this setup, but he does. He just finds it and bombs it on the net. No problem. Wow, that turned a lot. Yeah, bad toss with the foot fault. And there's that right hand from Clapp. I don't know that I love this hit on 2, especially when your trajectory variation is going to be pretty limited there, and Rygros is the one on the net. That seems not ideal. I think I just set that ball from Clapp. Oh, that's money. Not much Matt Cole can do there.
And I also think defensively, even though like they still clap tracked around on Matt's serve, he's tracking much later in this series than he did last weekend.
I agree. I wonder if we still see Clapp hitting this over-the-shoulder left come this weekend. Matt setting this ball, I'm going to be honest, in a really hard-to-hit spot. This is almost like jamming. It's like 2 feet off net and kind of behind Clapp. Like, I don't know. Nobody wants to hit the ball from that spot. Not even Rahul. Uh-oh. I don't know that I saw that serve choice from Clapp at Nationals. That feels like a very hard serve to hit, stepping while swinging. It's kind of weird. Clapp doesn't necessarily need to have the most wrinkles in his serve just because it is so hard to so hard to receive. He can just kind of load the gun and fire. He doesn't need to add things to it. I do want to see this set. Yeah, that's the set that we would expect. Plenty of height, plenty of time for Matt Cole to get around. Oh, wow. Ryan Gross just took him to the cleaners there. This is gorgeous. Terrific receive. Comes up to the net. Great poise. And just beats Matt Cole with the wrap. That was gorgeous. And I think Clapp's in a really good spot to play defense here. He gets around nice and early. Woof. Ryan Gross is one of the people that I really like to see a more aggressive tracker loop against, even onto his backhand. His backhand / left hand is so good that I think you still run a tracker loop there. But that's aside the point. Kingdom Come, not generally running that, is that's much more of a split and read, and they kind of get burned for it again. But I think Matt does a good job getting around. Not going to have a ton of success running the split and read against shots like that from Ryan Gross in that preceding point. But even in it, Matt gets pretty close to making the play. All right, here we go. Matt in transition on serve receive again. Oof. Joe Bondi does Joe Bondi things. Okay. I don't think we've seen Matt get aced by Ambi at all in this series. And I think Clap has only been aced by one from Ryan Gross so far. Defense is definitely coming along. They're completely different defenders, I would say. They have a legitimate plan. They're executing the plan at least to some degree. They like having Matt on the push and Clap on the wrap. They're mostly running split and reads, and they're not committing people to backhands ever. I think that they are not playing as close to the net as they did at Nationals, but I also think they're not playing as far from the net as they did at Nationals, specifically Matt Cole. Matt Cole's spending a lot more time in no man's land in these games so far, and a lot less time polarizing his positioning on defense. Once again, Matt kind of getting wrecked by Joe Bondi cut reverse, so it seems like he just needs to get the feet down a little bit better as he's in transition again there. Uh-oh. He might just not be timing it up very well. Yeah. Good receive from Clap. I don't want to say that they're setting woes, but they are still having some sets that are not their favorite. I actually think this receive is really good from Matt. I think he just kind of loses it in the sun as we have the sun back. Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong there from a footwork perspective. I think you just can't find it in the sun. Good receive. Joe on his horse, and that's not a very good set. I'm pretty impressed by Matt able to get that through the push and makes a great decision to decide not to pull that, as Joe is going to be much further from the net than Ryan Gross there. I really like that decision, but not a great set. Matt continues to get his pocket picked by Ryan Gross. He really just cannot find a good decision playing defense against Ryan. The ball's pretty close. That's a really good receive. That's an interesting flick. I will say it. I dislike that decision to flick. I think that he got very fortunate there. And I don't think flicking is the right choice. I think he needs to rip that with a backhand. Like a full backhand or a full right hand, whichever he prefers, but not a little flick. Great push receive from Ryan Gross. Gross, of course, has a really strong push. Matt still receiving from pretty deep here. I wonder if him receiving from this deep has burned him on the receives against Joe. Oh, interesting. That Clap's going to go righty here. Yeah, I don't love this flick. I think that he would be better served to be choosing more aggressive backhands, but I think that he kind of gets forced into this flick by the set from Clap. The set from Clap really needs more height. Maybe he does have time to use the left hand and kind of chip it over Ryan. Not sure. I definitely think he should be trying to chip there, though. He doesn't want to hit low trajectory shots against Ryan Gross. I actually really like their defensive spots. I think we want to encourage Ryan Gross to hit shots like that. I think that those are going to be the situations where they're going to have the most opportunity to play defense on Ryan Gross. I am surprised to see, and we're going to come back to this again, I am surprised to see them run their defense in this way. I would expect them to send Grant Clapper around, but instead they run a follow. And I think it would be much better served to send Clapper around and just leave Matt on the push. One thing they might actually be doing there that would be most interesting, and is probably actually the case, Matt's been having so much trouble defending Ryan Gross's push, flick, and backhand like the flick wrap, that they probably decided that they were just going to make an adjustment and run a follow to try and get both players involved in covering up portions of the flick range, because they've had so little success defending against it up to this point, as we've noted with Ryan Gross just kind of pushing and flicking everything around Matt. So really good to see them making adjustments on the fly in series, which we definitely were not seeing in the USAR footage from the year prior. Yeah, that is a shot that most people do not have. Wow. I love Joe's expression there. It's just like disbelief that he actually chose that. Grant Clapp foot faulting a lot in this series. That is the set that we expect from them. That was beautiful from Spotless. But yeah, this is kind of exactly what we would expect from Kingdom Come. Matt Cole does not try to choose exciting angle there. He just loads the gun and fires right at Ryan Gross. Not sure why they wouldn't play that. Seems like a very easy decision to play that serve. Gosh. He's so good at that. Man. It is interesting to see such significant changes from the team over the duration of the year, as this tournament's happening in April, and the preceding footage that we've seen from them was June from the prior year. So over that year, we've seen them kind of change the way that they set. We've kind of seen them change the way that they are playing defense. We've seen them become a more dynamic defense. Oh my goodness, what a... Oh dear. But what we haven't seen go away is the patented Grant Clapp onto and then directly into the rim. Hard game. Matt needs to give him more time. Not to say that that's an easy set. Sun in the eyes, very high receive. Hard to blame Matt, but definitely did not see any sets that bad from him in Nationals. At least not against me. I haven't seen the Rogue in system games, but definitely didn't have anything that bad against me. He sat like God against me. And they are still running that split and read here, and that split and read is never going to get to this Ryan Gross flick. Not to say that I think it's bad to run your defense that way. You're just never going to get there. This is exactly how they ran their defense at Nationals. I wonder if Grant Clapp has changed his posture on these jumps. Oh, he gets the hand on it too. Gosh. That's rough. I like that decision to just swing with the left hand. I like that set as well. Definitely better decision making than the preceding year where we were seeing some kind of sillier shots where they would just kind of try and drop there or just, get too creative with flicks and crap like that. A little high. Good look, though. Oh, foot fault is the call. Yikes. That's good. All right, we're going to discuss this point because this isn't how they run their defense. So this is interesting that they change it and make such a dynamic change in this spot. So Clapp sends Joe to the right hand and then decides this is the spot to follow. I'm assuming that he makes the decision that he's going to run a follow here and make the run around Ryan because it would be very challenging for Matt Cole to get around Joe because Joe is so far from the net. Second point here being that the first touch is very high, which should give him plenty of time to get across, which he doesn't really use as he waits for the set. And I'm not really sure why he doesn't use it. I don't love this hitting choice from Joe. I think Joe needs to bomb this instead of, playing a lower trajectory shot. But I think Grant does a really good job to get around here, stay under it, and work low to high. And then that is the exact set that we saw all day from Kingdom Come. Two big boys setting big, tall, arching sets and hitting down on the ball really hard. Joe does a good job there to get that body. And just shanks the hit. So, really cool point. Interesting that they run a follow there. So, dynamic defensive decisions are clearly happening in moment, in game. That was a bit silly there, wasn't it? We'll get to watch it again. Wow. Let's watch that again. So if you consider how this defense is being run, they are in spots that only they can be in. Let's see what this looks like. Actually, really well handled. I would say this perceive is about as perfect as it could possibly be. But I would say this is the only team that gets to play defense in this way because Grant is so tall that essentially he can play defense from what looks to be 5 feet and essentially still run trajectory coverage that covers all the bombs and is going to cover all of the low pulls because he has that much height and he's still in a kind of crouched position. Let's see what he lands into. He's reading this hit really well, apparently. Finds that it's the push. Has a great eye on it. And he's coming up with the jump, so he's clearly intending to cover the high trajectory. Matt Cole carrying momentum across here is really valuable, as if this ball does, in fact, get over Clapp, has enough height to get over the Clapp, to get over Grant, Matt will be able to take his momentum that he's already built up here and run this ball down. While in most cases you wouldn't be able to run a defense that way because the player on the pull would not be tall enough to cover the maximum kind of trajectory points here. But Joe goes low, Clapp still finds the touch, and really great reaction set from Matt, and he can rip it on. So I love that sequence of defense. I think that was really good. I think it's cool that they can run a follow in like an innovative way like that. But I will note that they are kind of making dynamic decisions that they're going to run a follow in some of these spots and running. Yeah, again, this is the exact opposite. They're not running a follow here. They're going to run a tracker loop. I think they're running this tracker loop because it's Ryan Gross. They're not running this against Joe when they wind up in these same spots. But Matt comes all the way around, defends the push from the left side. So from this position, Matt Cole is going to go 180, 200 degrees to get all the way to the push. And this allows Clapp to really sit on the wrap. and it works out for him. So lots of cool decisions happening here from Kingdom Come. While against Airbuds, they would never make these decisions in the previous year. I shouldn't say never, but we can surmise that they were not at the point of consciousness on defense to make some of these decisions, as we saw them kind of just splitting and reading, let alone making these strong defensive decisions to come around hitters and sending trackers to pushes from the strong hand. That looked pretty good. Matt Cole receiving that from very far away from the net. I wonder if this has something to do with there being so much sun. He's trying to give himself more time to make receives. I'm not sure. Maybe that's just kind of where he has decided he's going to be receiving from at this point. I actually think this is... I'm going to watch this again, but I thought this defense was probably really good. As soon as the setter transitions across the front of the net like that, you always want to send the server across to the other side so that you can essentially split up the hitter's range with the backhand and the forehand with one defender on each of them. So as soon as we see Joe coming across here, I think Matt might even be a little bit late to go to the left side, which would then pull Clap a little bit more to be in a spot for this. Yeah. But they wind up in good spots, and Gross just kind of hits it over them. To Colton's point from earlier, I will say, I think at Nationals they were a little bit quicker to rotate and make adjustments. That's a very nice flick. Yeah, really tough to flick that ball on a set that high and that far from the net. So rolling with the defense in the way that they have been running it, we would expect that Matt Cole is going to either run all the way around or Grant Clapp is going to go around Ryan Gross. I think that they decide not to make these decisions only because, yeah, the height of the set or the height of the receive from Joe isn't very high. I don't know. I feel like Clapp had time to get around Ryan Gross. Obviously, it works out as Joe is going to be swinging with the left hand. But even after that, Clapp does not come all the way back in. He kind of watches that ball go by Matt. This is definitely Clapp's ball. He needs to take a lot more angle and a lot more net to kind of force Joe to be hitting more and more towards Matt. But really good stuff. I would like to see a little more height on that set from Clapp, but I think that's really good. Definitely more along the lines of pro round net and what we would expect to see. So that's a set that we actually saw a lot of from Clapp at Nationals, where I don't know how to describe it. He literally lows up and just kills it at the net. Like, that is a swing from, what do we want to call this, 35 feet out, 25 feet out. Homie is not close to the game. Yeah, I'm gonna call it 35 feet, where he literally just takes a swing at the ball. That's a super hard to hit set. He needs to put just the tiniest little bit more arc on it. Otherwise, it starts to get a little too flat, and there's no swing plane that is able to connect with that. And when I say that, if you consider the falling of the ball, you really want to have a swing plane that's kind of level with that ball. And when you are swinging across a ball that hard, you just don't have much margin for error to swing into. I'm sure most of the people on this call generally understand that. But on a more explicit level, as we put more and more arc on the ball, it's going to be a lot easier to hit that. It gets harder and harder the flatter and flatter we make that set, which is why we are always, sitting here and criticizing this team for setting too low. I think these higher sets really do them a massive service. Okay. I think we would normally expect them to run a follow here because Clap is on the right and Matt is on the left, and Matt has been the one that is taking push and Clap has been the one that is taking wrap. So if Clap were to be on the left and Matt were to be on the right, we would see a lot more of Clap going around and Matt Cole staying and taking the push, which is actually pretty ironic because Grant Clap is left-handed. So when Grant Clap serves, he is going to be leaning off to the left side very heavily and would thus be in a much better spot to kind of stay there, let Matt rotate around and go get to a lot of these pulls from Joe Bondi. While if Matt were to be the one serving and were to lean out right, as he so often does, he would be able to carry momentum to his right around Ryan Gross and kind of take a natural follow. If you think about the way that I serve, I would say I'm the textbook example of this kind of carry your momentum into your lead and cover as much ground as possible. And they're doing this in the reverse. I don't know if that's going to change. I want to point out that we're seeing like a distinct theory understanding change in this team between 2022 and 2023. I know we're still at the beginning of 2023, but the understanding of theory has changed massively on this team. They are operating on a completely different level defensively. They're making much better decisions, and they're clearly making adjustments, as we saw in the Ryan Gross abusing Matt Cole, until they've changed their defensive rotations to kind of make it so that they won't get exploited. So I would say to this point, that is one of the largest advantages, their consciousness of theory and the changing in the way that they operate their defense. Past that, the setting is a lot better and they're receiving from closer. Wouldn't be surprised if we find Matt Cole and Grant Clapp even receiving from closer than they are in this video at Nationals, but I'm not confident. Oh, disaster of a set. I want to see the footwork on this set. I know he's kind of on the scramble, but I wonder if he's able to get around it. Yeah, he really just needs to put a little bit more height on that set. Gosh. Yeah, I remember this. So yeah, this will be kind of the most natural defense for them to run. Matt Cole gets to stay on the push. Grant Clapp gets to stay on the wrap. And Joe Bondi being a pretty heavy forehand player with a few good backhands, they'll have plenty of time. This is kind of an opportune defensive spot. They find the touch and just don't get lucky. Okay. Setting. Stick setting has gotten higher, enabling more trajectory variation for both players. Recovery setting is improved, but not great. Defensive setting is world class. Clap. Still banging on twos into the rim. Matt still making questionable hits on the left side. Defense. I mean, I think the only way to describe this is complete transformation in defensive theory, dynamic decisions mid-series to adjust for varying shot selections. Here, fly hitter.
I think one of the defensive changes we'll continue to see as we get closer to nationals at the championship
Mhm.
is in this game, some of the times when they decided to collapse on the net and close in angles defensively, it felt like they were a little late to the position and they left some of the hits open. With nationals, they were closing super quick. And when they decided they were going to take away angles and get close, they were there before the hitters started the swing path.
I do not have footage from, what would it be, Philly when they play Rogue. And I don't have footage from Columbus when they play. Somebody help me. Somebody in the chat. Who beat Kingdom Come in Columbus? Is that in system?
Bad combo.
Bad Combo beat him in Columbus.
Yeah, that was rough.
That was rough. Can you elaborate?
Will destroyed their mental game.
Oh boy. Yeah. Well, that kind of happened in the Rogue series in Philly too. I don't know that we necessarily need to see all of the transition points and all of the kind of step-by-step points along the way. I think that from this point, we can kind of see 2022 Kingdom Come, I don't think is that much better than current premier teams, strong premier teams to middling premier teams. If we think of some of those teams containing, gosh, guys like Ely, guys like Brian Perlson or Ben Goldfarb, just amazing servers. Players like Caleb Cummings, where they can rip the ball and they know what they're doing. Defensive players or defensive teams like Lazy, where they have a strong theory understanding. But I think we can kind of see there is a distinct difference between 2022 and 2023 team on a theory side and on a marginal, consistent touch side. The ability of this team to improve their position with every single touch has gotten way better. And I mean this from the receive to the set to the hit. Right? If they make a defensive touch, the next touch continues to get better and the touch after continues to get better. I think they are improving their positions extremely well along the way. I want to open it up to y'all. Do y'all have points to add before we get to the Nationals footage? And this is kind of where this stream gets a lot of fun, I think. Don't everybody jump at it at once.
Fred, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you explain this in poker terms? I don't understand what happened.
Sure. They decided they were going to start 3-betting more pre-flop. They tightened up their pre-flop ranges and started following the charts. And then they stopped firing every barrel on every street post-flop and only took their best premier bluffs and their best premier value hands for 3 streets. But it hasn't all come together. They still need run good to make it all happen. And that's what we're going to see at Nationals.
Why don't you do that?
Yeah, why don't I do that? That's a hard game. All right.
I think one of the other changes that still hasn't quite clicked is where they're serve receiving from, or even situational serve receive. There were some points against like Ryan Marino where I remember Grant was inside the 7-foot line to the point where it like stood out to me that he was maybe heels on the line to begin with and then cut off the angle and cut through the circle.
Oh, you love that.
Yeah, so I think sort of recognizing when they need to be in that position versus when they can afford to be farther back is something that continued to improve throughout the season.
I will add that that is a stark difference from 2022, where we see both of them trying to receive Will Pacone from 10 feet, you know, which never a good decision.
Yeah, 2022, they were just kind of hanging out back there, hoping they'd have more time.
Yeah, I tried telling people back then, just stand closer, but they didn't believe me. But then Rogue and Blake started doing their stuff, and now everybody, you know, kind of went along with it and said, all right, I guess we'll have to follow along. Let's see, serve receive setting, hitting, defense, serving. Still very good. Cool. And I'm actually gonna discuss these as kind of like separate entities, pool play versus bracket play. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I want to kind of point out the difference between a team that is firing on all cylinders and a team that has made the jump from a theory perspective and from a cleanliness perspective, understanding what they need to be doing, to a team that is not just understanding what they need to be doing, but executing, and not just executing like some of the time, but executing, you know, literally the entire time. The only way you're beating teams 21-11, 21-13 is, you know, complete execution without failure the whole way. You can't be giving away any points. And the only series that I'm not going to show is going to be the Power Line series. I didn't think that there would be much value in going through an additional series against a non-serving team. They're about to play two, you know, non-serving teams in this pool, Assistive Touch and Power Line. I think it'll also be interesting to watch them play kind of a more natural defense against a hitter that they certainly know nothing about. Two hitters they know nothing about, and one of them being one of the best hitters in the world. So that'll be cool to kind of see how they can dynamically adjust their defense between Game 1 and Game 2. Okay. I don't know why, but sometimes when I click on these videos, it's 15-second skip, and other times when I click on these videos, it's 5-second skip. I wonder if it has to do with being 20 minutes. Okay. Immediately to your point, first serve on the day from Matt Cole, and we see Grant Clapp gets around the corner way quicker. They fully understand what they're trying to do with their tracker loop. Matt Cole does a great job taking away much more angle than even we saw in Richmond. Yeah.
Did this video come from a player?
Matt Cole.
Okay.
That looks upstairs, but they're going to play it. Horrendous set. But it actually gives Matt Cole plenty of time. So if you were to pick a bad set, that would be the bad set to give him, I would say. Kind of a funny thing to say, but of all the crappy sets, that's top of range for crappy sets. We're gonna watch this again. The only player in the world that can hit this shot every time, Grant Clapp. And Paul, too good at playing defense, runs it down and just puts it on the net. So Lucas says, bet. I'll go ahead and hit this on two. Yeah, actually, let me rephrase. Let's come back to this. I really hate this set by Matt Cole. That is not a good recovery set. Matt is putting this in the worst possible position. And I'm going to go through the different quadrants of the net and we'll make a point here. Let's assume that this ball is short and on Grant Clapwick's right hand. We know that Grant Clapwick is able to hit with the right hand. He can also choose the lefty push flick past Lucas, which is going to be really tricky for Lucas to defend. Now, if he oversets it more in the angle to Paul, Clapp is going to be able to get all the way around the net and bomb the ball back down the angle of the white line that we see, away from Lucas, and Paul would have to make a long run to Paul's right and go get that ball. Probably not happening. If he were to leave it in the quadrant opposite where Clapp is standing, where Lucas is, Clapp would be able to either rotate around the right and hit the backhand shot where he pulls it behind himself, or he would be able to rotate around the left and then decide whether or not he's going to hit push for a little, mid-range shot. He can hit some schmediums, or he can load and fire and pull it exactly to where Paul is, essentially. So by putting Clapp in this one quadrant here, this is the worst set that Matt Cole can actually make. And it's kind of miraculous to me that Clapp does so well with it. Also, interesting to note that Paul is able to get such an early jump on that ball. He recognizes that this is such a bad set immediately and then decides he's going to leave the net. There's no real way for him to get burned here because the only drops that Clapp is going to have when balls are over his shoulder and into his left side like that in that quadrant are going to be drops that are also pulled directly to Lucas. So I think this is an outstanding read from Paul. I know that I certainly would not be finding that read. I would, sit there and wait for the ball thinking that I'm covering the push and watch Clapp bomb it away. So, wonderful play by Paul. I think this is terrific from every player on the net except Matt. No offense to Matt. I know I've ripped him here for what is essentially a recovery set that he's only missed by a little bit. But it really is that, that unhittable, that unplayable. It doesn't work.
He also chooses to stand kind of sideways to the net. I don't know how to describe the orientation, but he doesn't face away from the net or towards the net when making that set. He's sort of setting sideways off the side of his hand.
Where'd that point go? I think this is really good. I think you should be setting with this orientation. I don't think he's done anything wrong. The way that I have always taught setting is you set across your body in line with your shoulders. So I would like to see his shoulders, turned a little bit more towards where Lucas is or turned a little bit more towards where Paul is instead of turned towards Clapp. I have always taught to set parallel with your shoulders. So I think that this is Matt's setting form, and I think that it's good.
Okay. Would you do that set with a left hand? Or would you still do it with the right, even though you're having to kind of angle your hand back towards the net?
In a perfect world, we use our left. When you have that much time, I might just use my right, as I have plenty of time to set up for it.
Okay. And you'd keep your shoulders turned?
Unfortunately, I would personally, I would probably take another step to my left if I were Matt after seeing this set. So after seeing that touch, I would probably take another step left so that my shoulders can be a little bit more open to my partner and he gets to track the ball the entire way. But I don't think that this is bad. I think I think it's a little bit nitpicky.
Okay, good to know.
This might just be a hinder. That's funny. Yeah, low set. Once again, Paul, one of the best defensive players slash hitters in the world, and they're going to run a follow here, and Paul is going to make it all the way around to cover pushes. And that's just so impressive there, the defensive effort from Paul. I know Lucas gets the touch, but boy, oh boy, is Paul covering the push there way more impressive than Lucas getting to the pull. Yeah, not going to play that. So I would assume they're going to run the tracker loop here, send Clap around the back. And they run a follow. I don't know shit. I'm guessing that they're running a follow because Matt is going to decide he's going to take his momentum with him. We had this discussion last time that it would make more sense for them to run their defense this way. I made this comment against Spotless. And I think after Lucas is that far away from the net, Matt kind of decides that Clap is going to get boxed out, and therefore he needs to go. However, Clap is really late. If we think about how well Paul did to cover up the push in the preceding point, Clap has done equally poorly to cover up the push, which forces Matt to kind of wait and stay on the push instead of committing to this shot, which is a shot that a player like I am never going to let land. I will always get to that. And we would like to see Clap do a better job following so that Matt has the ability to make this decision to make that rundown. And I think that later in the day, let me rephrase, I haven't seen it, but I would make the assumption that later in the day, they are a little bit closer together. But first game of the day, we'll see how it changes. That's a money recovery set. Good height. Leads Matt up the right side of the net, which is the correct decision despite Matt coming from that deep lefty cut serve. I really like every part of that from Kingdom Come. Also, I want to note if Clap's setting form has changed from the Airbuds video. Hard to tell from that angle. Oh boy. This is reminding me of the serve that Coleman cooked by him. Yeah, I don't love the split step where the left foot goes forward and the right foot goes back. I think that's bad, but he does fit 4 steps into that receive. So I think the ability to move his feet there is going to be able to bail him out on a lot of those plays in the future, despite maybe not making the best decision in terms of how he arranges his feet. That's a really good receive and a really bad set. Interesting to note that Matt just rips the left hand instead of putting it on. And I think in Richmond we saw him more just putting it on as opposed to loading and firing the gun there, despite it being on the left hand. Pal probably only one of 3 or 4 players in the Pro Division that is going to be punishing Matt Cole for this set. This is a bad set again from Matt Cole. We talked about that quadrant a minute ago, and he puts it in that same quadrant again. Paul reads it so early, gets an amazing jump, and goes and runs down this little push. Oh, that's an unbelievable set from Buddy over there. I hope that point on the quadrants makes sense to everybody. I also want to make the point that that is unbelievably hard to recognize mid-game. And the fact that Paul is picking it up so well and responding to it so perfectly is pretty astonishing. That's funny. This might... I don't think it's avoidable. I don't know if that's an avoidable or unavoidable hinder. Certainly a hinder. I think I think a redo is fair here. I don't think ES can take the point. I could maybe see a world where Clap gets the point, and I think Matt is arguing for the point. Yeah, I think Matt has a reasonable argument there, but and is he going to get the point? No. They're going to redo it. Probably the best decision. Interesting to see them run the tracker loop to the backhand with Matt Cole here. My only guess is they have a lot of respect for Paul as a hitter and expect to see a lot of backhand wrap, backhand push. So interesting there. I heard about this. I heard the Germans were doing this all day, actually. Because they didn't want to see serves, so they just kind of went and got everything and trusted their fundamentals. Which I really respect that from them. Okay. This is pretty telling here, actually. This recovery set is kind of a bomb. He puts that thing way in the air. We have not seen that in any of the other videos. Another one. Yeah. This was something I noticed when I played them. I noticed that they were just kind of lobbing it in the air and
right now.
making the hitter try and figure it out. Hey, OJ. Kind of making the hitter figure it out. And they really had a lot of success with that. Gosh. I'm actually not really sure what defensive, like how you should organize a defense when you're going to kind of reverse a player away from his partner after stepping towards the partner. Yeah, it's just a really weird set of decisions. So I don't know how I would run my defense there. I'd have to think about it a lot more.
On that last point, do you think, like, I can tell
how off net that set was, but do you think Grant should have came up and got that, or do you think it was good for him to come off that one?
Yeah, I mean, this is probably going to be the most interesting point of the game, but it's really hard for Grant to make decisions to leave in this spot just because Matt is so far from the net. So I'm not really sure if Grant can ever make a decision to leave. That being said, I kind of like Grant stepping up and playing defense. He's trying to play defense from 8 feet, which I think we would all firmly agree is no man's land, even with Grant's height. So maybe Grant should be trying to do all of the same steps and all of the same decisions, but from 5 feet, 6 feet. I think he definitely makes this touch if he makes the same set of decisions from 6 feet. I will openly say I absolutely hate Matt Cole starting there to play defense. I understand that Matt Cole is starting in this spot because he intends to run a tracker loop. He wants to be able to get around Lucas, and I guess he has in his mind that Grant Clapp is intending to hit a righty here, and that righty is going to force Lucas to be on the back foot very far from the net, which would make it hard for him to get around Lucas. But I really just think you should run a follow if you're going to do this and send Grant Clapp around the corner and let Matt follow him. But here we are, and you wind up in these weird situations following this portion of the game tree. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Looks like Paul's going to hit the push ace by Matt. Paul has a really weird push. Nope. It's pretty funny how 1-to-1 it is when we see the lower, quicker set from Matt or Clap to Matt. But like ES is all over this, and I mean, I think that Kingdom Come is pretty fortunate to get away with just a touch from ES and not a strong offensive play / opportunity from ES in that spot. And you could tell Lucas not really happy with that. They are running a split and read here, and you have to run a split and read here as soon as the setter transitions across. This is always a split and read. I wonder how far Matt Cole is receiving Lucas from. Let's take another peek. Matt receiving Lucas from pretty deep. Should be about 8 feet. I have the feeling it's a double fault, but I don't want to miss defensive. Yeah, double fault. So one thing that I noticed, and I think I've mentioned this, is I didn't see almost any flicks from Clap against us or against Critical Hit. And now we see, I think that's the first flick we've seen from Clap in this series, and it immediately gets punished by ES as they both have a touch here. Paul's the one that gets the touch, but I think Lucas would have gotten it had Paul not. And then, honestly, a pretty cool finish there from Lucas. Guessing we see another double fault here. We do. Wow. Yeah, I mean, it so happens that Clapp was just an extra step too far. I don't know that he can predict that very well. Maybe he shouldn't jump there. He should just turn and go get it. But those points are really tough when you wind up in these spots where somebody's making a 20-foot set over the shoulder running away from the net. Hard to be clairvoyant and just know where the ball's going. That was weird. I'm curious to see this whole point develop. Matt Cole is going to come up the left side of the net, step through, and pull instead of just hitting the push. Interesting. A lot. Oh, I'm not gonna worry about that too much. That was a really bad decision. Wow, that was weird. Good push into the body. And they're running mostly this split and read here with Matt serving. Okay, so this is their natural defense. When Matt Cole serves from the left side, they're going to run a split and read. When Matt Cole serves from the right side, usually Clapp is going to go around the back, and sometimes Matt Cole is going to run a follow. I think it depends on where the setter goes. Now, if Clapp were serving in this spot, Clapp would lead with a follow, and Matt Cole would follow him. And if Clapp were serving from where Matt Cole is, then Clapp would... They like to send Matt Cole around the backhand and run a tracker loop. I mean, honestly, if I were to run a defense and I had Clapp as a defender on my team, I would probably run the defense literally exactly the same as them. I think I would do everything identically. I understand in this game Clapp serves much better. I do want to see this serve on Clapp. Okay, he just gets faked out by Paul. I would like to see higher trajectory there from Matt, and Matt's pissed. This is a really good receive. That's a really good set. I have the feeling Matt just kind of mishit that ball. Boy, he is frustrated. Interesting. We noticed that Clapp swung for that against Spotless and front rimmed it, and he front rims it again here. Funny thing to note here. So this is a really good route by Matt Cole here. Recognize that the push is coming. I think he made the same move on us later in the day. I have that recollection. But really good by him to take the longer extended route and go run it down as opposed to coming across at the net after Clapp has made the decision that he's going to be coming in. This is a really strong follow and a great decision as opposed to coming back across and just playing double body. I really prefer to see it. If Clapp gets tripped over, Matt has momentum to run down the long ball. Really good piece of defense from Matt Cole there. Now, on the hit and on the set, this is the exact same set that Matt Cole keeps giving Clapp that we keep discussing being in the worst quadrant on the net and marveling that Clapp is able to ever hit it. But now we have a right-handed hitter swinging for it, and of course, it's a lot harder. Yeah, this is very out of system and super unorthodox. And I like Matt Cole's decision making here. I'm going to put a ton of time on this ball. We're going to throw it in the air, and Clapp can figure it out. I think another version of Clapp goes for weird backhands there. And this Clapp just loads and fires with the offhand, which I really like. I think that's great from him. That's a good serve. This is an interesting defensive spot to unpack, as Grant really needs to get all the way to the push here, and Matt probably needs to go to Matt's right for the wraps, if I'm reading this set correctly, and I am very confident that I am. But that's a hard set to read as Clapp, as the ball comes over your shoulder and you track it to a point that is across from you. It's not, all of it isn't in front of you. You have to track it over your shoulder to a hitter that's almost behind you. So. Oh, wow. Great receive. Once again, I think there are a lot of versions of Clapp where he looks for a backhand flick, and in this one, he just swings with the right, load and fire. And I love that. That has been so effective. Yeah. Weird stuff there. I think Matt just doesn't ever make a decision on what he wants to do, and they kind of get punished for. Yep. Never makes a decision. Gets caught behind him.
Hey, Fred.
Hey, Matt.
Hey. How is everyone? Oh, you guys are watching us against the Germans? Oh, jeez.
We've already watched the Game 1 loss. We've gone through the series against Spotless and the series against Airbuds.
Nice.
I think after this, we'll probably watch Assistive Touch. Yeah, we've kind of been tracking the progression of y'all's game from 2022 to 2023 to now, and it seems that y'all have made some significant improvements as theoretical players. Like your understanding of theory and your plans on defense have shifted dramatically.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on that and like what y'all were thinking when y'all made decisions. Even before points, like how y'all are operating your defense.
Yeah, so the first just like kind of most obvious evolution is we've played together way more. Which is one of the most valuable things you can do. I mean, even if it's just a matter of I know where at least like where Grant wants to be, you know, where he prefers to make a touch or where he prefers to step. That just makes everything easier. And right when I jumped on you, it was a point where I had failed to make a decision, and those happen much less often because the decisions are just more intuitive. I have a good feel for naturally what's going to happen. I remember that service. You've hurt my ankle a lot. Oh yeah, there I am. But no, I'd say, okay, so it's a little bit difficult. I think the main theoretical difference over time has become we talk a lot more specifically about what players we are playing against. There used to be a feel that, you know, we're both just kind of big and tall and neither of us are like that quick. And so we should probably just go to the net and we should just kind of hope for the best. You know, both of us are like decent at making the balls go up in getting, a touch here and there. And so let's just make that happen. What has evolved over time is we've been very, very specific about who the hitters that we're playing are, what they want to do, and then adjusting accordingly. I think, honestly, that's part of the reason why we didn't do that great against the Germans. And, we had never played them before. And they chose shots we weren't expecting. I think in this series, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but at least it felt like this to me. It felt like we were getting chipped a lot. And that was not something we were that used to happening to us. We had played a lot of people this season that hit low and hard, and the Germans picked a lot of really smart chips over us, and we didn't adjust. So happy to talk about any more specifics in that, but I'd say like the main theoretical difference is we got really specific before every game about who the hitter was and what they wanted to do. And I think if you guys, I'll probably have to jump off before we get to Rogue if you guys get to Rogue tonight, but against Rogue, that was like so important. And it did help that this was the third time we played Rogue this season, but having a very specific game plan against specific hitters, we had a different game plan against Marino and Thomas, and that was really important. So, yeah.
I'll note, when we watched your 2022 film, we noticed Grant spending a lot of time not in the vicinity. Oh, that's unbelievable. Oh, front rim, okay. But we noticed Grant spending not a lot of time in the vicinity of the net, but just completely leaving the net and really being far away. We noticed that you
Interesting, yeah.
spent more time in no man's land than you normally would. And we noticed in the Spotless series that midway through the series, y'all completely changed the way you're playing defense against Ryan Gross. Mm-hmm. And there are no more one-on-ones against Ryan Gross's backhand. Y'all do your very best to create two-man situations on the backhand and one-man situations on the strong right.
Yeah, Ryan's a tough hit. So, okay, for the first point, I don't have much of a thing to say other than that just sounds like we were really inexperienced and we're doing kind of crappy stuff on defense. And my perception is when you don't know what to do, you just try and make a play by yourself, which is going to mean you're probably going to try and do something with like your hands or just like take as much space as possible, whether that was the right thing to do or not. So that's probably what you were seeing there. And I have a bad habit of getting in no man's land because part of me thinks I should be, trying to roof the ball, and part of me thinks I should be trying to body the ball, and then I do neither. Yeah, Ryan is a tough hitter. What we had determined against Ryan was honestly kind of exactly what you said. We had determined with Ryan that most of his shot creativity comes from his backhand, and he is less good at hitting like really, really low pushes and mixing those. And he hits like a really awesome strong right that goes really far and really high. But he has less creativity on that. And so that's fine to kind of just body. Whereas the flicks he's got lots of variation with the flicks. And we didn't, you get beat by that a few times and you're like, all right, that's the shot that you have to take away. So, yeah, definitely different than Joe as well. Joe has a really, really strong left hand and picks a lot of really nice low shots with his right hand as well, but does less of the flicks. So, yeah.
No, that is exactly what we saw. But yeah, I think it's interesting that you make the point there that you decided, that you were just going to take away the flicks because it seems that was not like a premeditated decision, but that was a dynamic adjustment y'all made mid-series. Watching back the footage.
Yes. So part of it is just naturally like you see Ryan get a no-touch shot on the flick like 3 times in a row, and you're like, all right, that's not gonna we're not gonna let that happen one more time, and it just happens. I don't remember if we talked about that specifically. It's hard to remember. That was April, but
yep.
It's also like we hadn't played anyone that season, and Ryan was probably. I'm trying to remember who we played that day before that.
Ryan, probably the best hitter that you've played that day.
Yeah.
with the exception of
that's
maybe
not-
Max Modell.
Oh yeah, we
And
played
Ryan maybe being even a better hitter than Max.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean, those top quality.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely if you watch in system,
Mhm.
you'll see the first few points Etienne beats us high, once or twice, and then he didn't beat us high a single other time. So that was a big improvement, and that comes, I think, with just being comfortable with your partner and being able to trust that you'll make the adjustments that you need to make mid-series. And then once you have played hitters multiple times, if did we play spotless again this season? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Oh no, we did. We did in Columbus, and I think we did a very good job against Ryan hitting. They didn't get many no-touch hits against us in Columbus. I don't know how. I don't know how high our conversion percentage was that series, but I remember feeling very good about the defense we were playing. So, yeah, it's just. I mean, it's all a matter of comfort and having a plan. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been interesting kind of watching throughout this series with ES. Y'all
Mhm.
kind of learning how to defend Paul. I think
Yeah,
Paul
they're
is
good.
one of the best hitters in the world.
Yeah, I don't even know if we did that great of a job. I don't feel like I did a good job. If I played him again, I'd still probably feel a little bit like I was learning it. He's both of them were very quality.
Yeah, I very much agree. I will also note, and a handful of us made this observation, between Spotless and between Nationals, there is a significant change in y'all's setting. Y'all are setting the ball much higher, especially on defense. Whenever anybody is coming back to the net or anybody is making a soft touch play, there's very much an idea of let the other guy figure it out. And we've seen some like 15 and almost 20-foot sets out of y'all where it's just like, and this guy decides he's just going to bomb it in the air. And then one of y'all comes back and figures it out and, unloads on it. Walk me through this. Because, I mean, this was completely different from 2022 where you're all aiming up the net.
Right. Yeah, it's funny. I wouldn't personally say setting is either of our strong suits. That was ugly. Yeah, so what had happened, I think, throughout the season, well, one, I think both of us just practiced setting a lot more. Like, there were a few points through Richmond, and then, what was the next tournament we played? Oh, Atlanta. Through Atlanta, where we gave up points. I think we both just felt disappointed with, there were just points where, okay, the set wasn't, obviously bad, but it was okay, if you try and do a directional set and you miss it, you can really frick yourself. And, if you're trying to really throw them at the push or whatever, you can really frick yourself because you can just really miss the whole net. Whereas if you're kind of just trying to give them a lot of time, you still have to be accurate, but you give them a lot of time to figure it out, like you said. So we, yeah, I don't know how conscious that one would have been, but I think both of us were practicing setting, and we both really, it sucks to give up points on something as simple as setting. And we both just started to probably trust each other a little bit more. The one set that I remember doing less of throughout the season was trying to feed Grant a flick shot, because obviously he really likes the flick if he can get it. And I remember at Richmond really wanting to give that to him. And then if I kind of messed it up, that forced him to do a righty, and that's not the shot we want him to be hitting. So I do remember just I'm just going to put it up, and if he wants to flick it, he'll move his feet around. But yeah, I'd say that's a weakness in both of our games, all things considered. Yeah.
What portion is the weakness there?
Just setting. All being, yeah, just setting.
Because I will say, at Nationals, setting was neither of y'all's weaknesses.
Setting was good. Setting was good this past weekend, yeah.
And past that, I will say that this idea of let's just chuck it in the air and figure it out later
Mm-hmm.
really paid dividends as you are both very powerful.
Yeah.
So the let's chuck it in the air, give the other guy a ton of trajectory variation to work with and a ton of time to kind of figure out his feet and just let him thump it at the net. Worked out really well. You found the net a lot.
Yeah. No, I think that's accurate. As we also got more touches because our defense improved, we found ourselves there are more scenarios where on a defensive touch you're more likely to be out of system than you are on just a serve receive. Though there are more and more scenarios where that set is there's a necessity there of just throw it to or put it high in the air and let them do it. Because it's much harder to directionally set when you're out of system or make them pick it. Yeah.
Past this, I kind of want to ask about your point that you made there about not setting Grant's flicks, because from what we've been watching here, whenever Grant flicks, it's very seldom that Grant gets a flick through.
Yep.
So far, watching these games, like watching the Richmond videos, watching last year the Airbud videos, even against ES, there's like one flick that he's able to get through, and most of them are getting touched or two touched or returned.
Yeah.
So it seems like that's worked out well for you. And then my personal experience playing y'all, I felt that we were seeing a lot more shots of Grant just reaches out with the right hand and tugs it away. Like I know some specific points where I expected to see a backhand flick and he chose righty wrap or righty push. Oh boy.
Yeah. Those were nice. Yeah, so that actually was conscious. It was after Philly pools. We talked a lot that lunch break, and we dropped a game to Hilltop in those pools. And I remember it was at least 2 or 3 times in one game where Hilltop and granted Hilltop is a very athletic team, but they made some insane plays to get up his flicks. He would even flick it around them, but like if it lips up a little bit, they would go make the diving play. And so we had talked about at Philly, basically, he likes the flick. I think he it's enjoyable for him, and he's obviously very tall, so he can make it happen sometimes. But we basically just said like, hey, that shot isn't as much of a winning shot as it should be. So you'll see there's a lot more. Yeah. Feed it to his left because he hits the ball so hard that even if he's hitting it like into their bodies, that it's unlikely that ball is going to go to a favorable position for their partner. So we had a lot of just tool it at them and low and at them, and then that shot was a kill. Or sometimes he would just hit it through the defense and past them. And yeah, his footwork's also really good when he's hitting righty. His footwork is less good when he's hitting flick. His footwork is like amazing when he's hitting righty.
His footwork is also often questionable when he kind of just hits left, like sets up too early and hits left.
Agreed. Yeah.
Which is a weird thing to think about. But I would agree that his best footwork comes when he's hitting right-handed at the net.
Yep. Which makes sense. It needs to be because you're less powerful on your offhand.
Right. Well, one thing that's also interesting is how much your footwork has changed when approaching the net. You no longer are just, meandering to the net and then kind of swinging at the shot that you're given. You're watching sets and moving all the way around the no-hit zone sometimes to kind of create favorite shots.
Yeah, so that was very intentional this season, especially because I found myself getting upped a lot more. Honestly, I still probably get upped more than I really should. But basically what I had determined was I found exactly what you just said. I found myself so many times meander to the net and hit the right, as hard as I can at them, but often they have set up the body defense really early and they get the up. So this season since Richmond, I've been like practicing very intentionally to get back to the net as fast as possible, move around the net to create space that way. Like you're not just, your angle is going to be different if you kind of run in front of them or go the way you don't normally go, something like that. And that was really effective all day Saturday. It's also really beneficial. So in Colorado, whenever we play pickup, the Cigar Boys play together, and I play with Clark, and that is a great combination of learning to do that exact thing I just talked about, where it's like, because Cigar Boys, if you hit it at them, they're going to touch it, and they're going to touch it with their hands, and it's going to be really good most of the time.
For sure.
And Clark is really good at seeing where the hitter is moving around the net and then setting to a beneficial spot for that hitter. So all the pickup that we've played this past month, I think, was really good for drilling that exact thing. Because and the last piece of this equation is I serve receive the ball really high most of the time. I think it's rare that my serve receives are like low, for better or for worse. Sometimes that's not great. That's just how I have always done it. I put the ball pretty high in the air, and that has given me that beneficial time to get around the net and move my body, because I've never been super flicky or tricky with my hits. I just kind of pick a hit and try and put it that spot with a lot of pace. There was a lot of information there, but that was my mindset around it.
Yeah, I think that's really good, and I mean, it's definitely coming through the screen that these adjustments have been made. Trying to think. Discuss the setting. We discussed the hitting. Oh, the serve receive. We noted that, specifically Colton noted that y'all scooted way up on serve receive, and I noted that y'all were standing very far away last year. Even in Richmond, y'all are standing pretty deep. I thought you were receiving Rygro from almost 10 feet, maybe 9 feet.
Yeah.
And I was pretty surprised to see that. And I thought both of you were receiving Joe far too deep and kind of giving him a little bit too much. With the power mix that he has.
It's so I can't. Grant and I do not. We don't. I'm of the mindset that like serve receive is really, really personal. I don't always feel the most comfortable like giving great tips on serve receive. Just because like I feel like it's the most all the effective serve receivers I feel like all do something a little bit different, and they're all like different sizes, and they're all their kind of form on where they contact the ball is a little bit different. So I can just kind of speak for myself. This definitely changed. Who was it? Who was the first team? Oh, it would have been playing spotless with Ryder in Salt Lake City, because it was the exact thing where Joe had beat me wide so many times. It's like you said, you give Joe too much space, the ball spins too much, you're going to get beat. So, and Ryder, he's very close because his hands are so quality that he can just kind of be close and touch the ball. Like, Ryder's footwork is not that practiced because it doesn't really need to be, because his hands are so good. So, like, he just kind of gets close to the net and trusts his hands. So that is kind of what Ryder and I had talked about with Joe, is Ryder kind of stands kind of close to the 7-foot line and uses his hands and shoots it out there. So that was like the first time that I think I like intentionally moved closer to the net. And then the next time that I found that being really effective, at Charlotte, Ryan Marino destroyed me and Grant, but mostly me. And then at Nashville, which was the next tournament that we played, stood a lot closer and did a lot better. I think Ryan still probably destroyed me, but with some of the spin that people put on the ball nowadays, it's like standing. You have to be able to react. There's really no strategy other than being able to react with your hands and move really close and really powerfully with your feet close to the net. And that was intentional for me. I can't speak for Grant, but
Yeah, I mean, from our perspective, having watched y'all try and receive Will from 14 feet last year. I mean, I exaggerate, but maybe not by much, but actually legitimately from probably 12 feet to now watching you guys try and receive Paul and Lucas from 8.
Yeah.
It just looks so much better.
Right. And it requires a lot less of you, footwork wise. Like, we both have long arms, so you can just kind of like really be close to the net, stay really patient on your footwork. Like, don't get blasted either way, and then you're just gonna stick out that hand and you're gonna get a good touch. Like, it's for me, it was just a matter of like getting really comfortable with that, and it's just reps. Like, your hands get better. Yeah, again, I can't speak for Grant on that one, but worked out for me. And we didn't, you're a power server, Ryan Gross is a power server, and I don't think it really was like detrimental to us. Like, I don't think we were getting beat in the body a lot just because we were standing too close. So I'd say overall it was positive, even against non-people who are going both ways.
One more question that I'll ask, and then I'll kind of just open it up to you to make general comments that you think are significant. We noticed that when y'all run your defense, and I'm going to use this point actually as an example, y'all almost always run your defense where you are covering the push / backhand, or you have completely left the net. And there really isn't much else that y'all like always do. Like, y'all are pretty dynamic, but one thing that's like, those are the two things that always happen. Either Matt Cole is gone or Matt Cole is covering the push or backhand.
Yep. I mean, to be honest, that is pretty true, and the reality is that we just found that to be more effective. I found myself not being effective at getting the necessary hands or bodies on the pull, and Grant is really good at those. And I found myself being a lot more effective on getting the necessary, like, just go get the big boom and run down if need be. I'm probably more effective at that than Grant was. Yeah, I mean, it was just really a matter of over the time we ran our defense a lot of times, and this is what we found worked. And so, you just kind of keep doing it. I don't. There wasn't a huge amount of more thought to it than that. But no, you're totally right. I would say both of those observations are accurate.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Once again, we see another team like winning championship where one player covers one thing and the other player covers the other thing, as opposed to both players trying to specialize, or excuse me, both players trying to do everything. We see, the specialization happening again.
Yeah, this was also one thing that was really interesting when I played with Ryder, is we both naturally did those things as well. And I think that was really effective for Ryder and I as well, which was really cool because it felt really easy to play defense with him. We didn't have to like really think too much about it. So to your point, yeah, just like being able to specialize in whatever, 1, 2, however many, whatever you want to say, one thing or two things on defense. Yeah.
Yeah. Any thoughts that you had? I don't know if you've made specific adjustments day of, or had specific thoughts that you wanted to kind of talk about on making the jump from being, we'll call it a high premier, low pro player from 2021, 2022 to being, the winner.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a journey, right? That was a good example of what. Will you play that point one more time?
Yep.
Sorry, this is a specific thing. You'll see me like just run to the push and then Grant. Yep. I mean, I know he's a little off net, so it's maybe not a perfect example, but Etienne was choosing this shot against us a lot. He was not choosing the low push at me. He's choosing the big boom. It's not exactly a pull, but big open boom. Grant goes up and touches the ball, and then we convert. This happened a lot in this series.
We discussed Grant being probably the best roofer since Patrick Drucker.
He is super good at it. It's very comfortable for him. And that was one of the things. Like, I realized pretty quickly, roofing the ball is not very comfortable for me. For whatever reason, I would always like, whenever I would kind of go and be in that spot, I felt like I was always getting like beat above my head or beat around my hands. And, people like Grant or like Dan is pretty good at this. Like, there are folks who are really, that's kind of in their wheelhouse, and that wasn't me. So Grant and I didn't do that. But yeah, no, the journey. I mean, it's been a journey. Since 2021, which was when I first made pro with Luke Marshall. Shout out Tiki Taka. Yeah, I mean, So there's very much that was a great shot.
That was kind of unbelievable that you put that set there and won that point.
I agree. No, I didn't. I was not happy with that set. Right, especially Etienne was already so deep. No, it was so after 2021 Nationals, there was I sent a very explicit text to Grant, basically saying like, "Hey, you're the guy that I want to play with. I wouldn't play with anyone else, even if I think I'd said something like, if I could play with Gabe, I would play with you or something like that." Which was true, and I just knew I wanted to play with Grant for a lot of reasons. Good friend of mine. We think about a lot of things similarly. Similar faith. That was always really important to me. Team chemistry and being comfortable with your partner is huge. I think.
I agree.
Yeah. It just helps so much with like everything, staying motivated, staying excited, whatever. And from that, from the point that Grant and I had decided to play together, we had both made an explicit commitment to each other, but also to ourselves of like, if we're going to play together, we're going to like do it right, and we're going to practice, and we're going to work hard. That was like when I first started going to the gym. That was when I first started practicing with regularity. That was, a lot of that stuff. That was the first year it was also my first year out of college and having a salary, so I could travel a lot more, all that stuff. So that was really exciting and really fun. And it was fun to put a lot of effort into spike ball and practice. And the 2022 season was like good, and there was a lot of bright moments of it. The main thing was we really loved playing with each other, which was really great, and had a lot of fun times. The championship wasn't ultimately that successful for us. We lost to Joe and Garrett in the round of 16. But we'd had some high moments, like we had beat assisted touch in 2. We had some kind of close games with some really good teams. We knew we were kind of like right in that middle to high pack of pro, where we felt like if we played our game, we could win. We could beat almost anyone, but just never fully got the job done for a lot of series in a row. And that was like very frustrating, and it meant that kind of just more practice was needed. So some of the things that I really intentionally worked on, well, obviously serving is really big. He's always been an incredible server. He's tall and lefty and puts a lot of spin on the ball and a lot of power in the ball. And it's kind of a perfect combination. He's always been like that, even when he started. But serve consistency was really huge for me. I used to try and do a lot of stuff on the serve, and really recently, and I think you see a lot in this Nationals footage, I ended up just doing a lot of the same things, like step the same way, use the same stance, don't overcomplicate it, basically, because I just wanted to have a really high percentage serve. And I think that was really a big reason why we actually did well. Obviously it's not as flashy of a reason of doing well as Grant aced whatever it was 44 times, which is insane. And obviously that's a huge reason why we won. But even just having a serve on. Yeah, sorry, what?
Quote, I wouldn't say setting is either of our strong suits. We can put this on repeat, where Clap just makes... You and Clap both made these sets all day look easy.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's not a strong suit compared to teams who are very strong at setting, but I mean, we're both still pro players and can set the ball. Got to have... Yeah. But no, so I really focus on serve percentage. I knew that I think I have a good cut serve. It spins, it's fast. And so I was just focused on putting that, strong cut serve on, and that was effective and at least puts the team on the back foot. So really focused on that. Really focused on athleticism and moving around the net faster, because for me, there would be so many times where I felt like I just couldn't get to the right spot on defense, or couldn't make that last, important set, or even just couldn't, make a diving hit if I needed to, just because I wasn't athletic enough, didn't have the muscles. So that was really big. I did, I've been on the Y-Spec workout plan now for 2 years or whatever it is since 2021 Nationals. And I'm just really focusing on that, really focusing on sometimes, that like 1% more explosiveness is like the difference between making a set or not making a set, or making a touch and not making a touch. And that I noticed that honestly a lot of times during the Nationals run, like, wow, I don't think I used to be able to get to that ball, or I don't think I used to be able to make that play, that kind of thing. It also helps with just like being able to swing hard and all sorts of stuff. So I would always, Frederick, for many years of my roundnet career, when I was living in Texas, always told me that I need to start lifting and getting into the gym, and I always told him no. And then when I started doing it, I started immediately seeing results. So point being, I should have listened way earlier. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like at this point I'm kind of rambling, but those are some of the things that like have really marked the past 2 years.
So, I mean, the reason that I kind of prompt you for a lot of these questions and a lot of these thoughts is because I can sit here and watch film and say, hey, you guys used to do this poorly, and now you do this well. And I can sit there and point out, hey, they're changing their defense in this way. They're changing their hitting in this way. These decisions are no longer being made, and these decisions have taken over the majority of their decision making. But I can't tell people where that comes from.
Sure, yeah.
Right, I can't tell people what you went through along the way to make these decisions. Because while some people are, saying, wow, what an amazing run, y'all, played so well, and this was your lucky day, and y'all just served so well, and it was all serving, nothing but serving, Grant serving. Which just isn't true. Like, when I played y'all, sure, Grant hit some cool aces. But the fact of the matter is, you aced me more than he did. And y'all just ate me up on touches. And y'all ate up Gabe on touches. Y'all made tons of touches and beat us. And it looks like y'all made a ton of touches on its system too, watching these games.
Yeah,
and
we
there's
did.
a few aces to supplement, but actually finding out from you what y'all did and how y'all changed y'all's game is really where people are going to get value from you, and like are going to understand what it takes to make that jump from what would now be a mid-premier team, I would say beginning of last year, 2022, Kingdom Come, to being, that best team in the world, the winner, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
yeah, no, it makes total sense. It's makes total sense. There's a lot of theoretical stuff to break down, and probably half of it is explicit, half of it is implicit. Just Grant and I, you do something a lot of times, whether your mind knows it or not, you're going to start doing the things that are more effective, which is a really cool part about being a human, is that our minds work like that. So there's something to that of you just play with someone a lot more.
oh my God.
That was a sweet touch.
That was unbelievable.
Yeah, a really good example of what we're doing. Put on a hard serve. I think my serve was like good but not great, and then go make the play. Let's see it. Yep, there. I took take away the pull, let him do the impressive thing up top, and then let him hit the ball. But yeah, no, if I'm just like trying to start from a foundation of being a good roundnet player, you've got a lot of the skills, you can do all the things, but you're just not winning as much as you want to. I would say you can never be too athletic, never be too strong. Those are always going to be things that are going to be helpful. I would say of course you want to practice your serve. Your serve that's how you start the point. That's how you put on pressure on the other team. And then you want to start I've had the benefit of playing in the pro division for a few years now. Like, it's not often that I play someone that's like brand new to me. So I have the benefit of being able to think a lot about what I'm doing on defense against someone else, and having reps against people a lot of the time. So you get to start to really dial in what you want to do against someone on hitting. But between just like athleticism, really just drilling all the basic things, because in some of these high pressure situations, your body's going to do what it knows what to do, and that's muscle memory. And you kind of, you have to, the only way to get muscle memory is to do something over and over again. And then just really thinking deeply about, and this is where film comes in, this is where practice comes in, this is where playing as many tournaments as possible comes in. Thinking deeply about how you want to defend against someone else, how you want to serve against someone else, like how you want to approach it. Because if you just go out there and do it kind of mindlessly, someone who's better than you, who is not thinking about that, or who is thinking about that, is probably going to beat you. Even if you think they're like you're worse at the game than you. I think there's a lot of people in the world who are probably more talented at spike ball than I am, or whatever, or like have better serves. But like, I have been playing the Pro Division for a long time, and I'm probably one of like the least flashy players in the Pro Division. But you just got to figure out how to get the job done sometimes. So I don't know. It wasn't a huge amount of specific stuff there, but like definitely encourage people to work on their bodies and becoming more athletic. Definitely encourage people to work on how they approach other teams and just get reps. And definitely encourage people to just do a lot of drills. I mean, the only way, I think you put this in Discord the other week, Frederick, but like the best hitters are the people who just hit the most. And that's just, there's kind of no way around that.
Yeah. Reps are a good thing. Yeah, I think like you touched on some of the exploitative side where you're really trying to take advantage of specific weaknesses and generate opportunities for hitters to be choosing some of their weaker shots and some of the shots that are weaknesses. Trying to exploit servers and serve receivers where when you know that somebody struggles with certain serves or struggles to execute with certain serves, you want to kind of encourage them to hit those serves. Oh my god, what a set. Wow. But yeah, you want to encourage people to be hitting serves that they're bad at, and you want to kind of be exploiting receivers with serves that they struggle to receive. And I think there's kind of like the spot where if you are a newer player, you have to kind of come into this with an unexploitable perspective where you can exploit the people already in pro, and you need to be able to be good enough to not allow yourself to be exploited. And that's hard because, I mean, we're the best players in the world at exploiting people, like taking advantage of weaknesses. That's what the best teams do. So.
Right. Yeah, and I've never been, there are definitely players who just have such a dominant serving style, like who are just so dominant at serving that it doesn't really, they don't have to think as much about this because, they could maybe play worse defense than the other team, but like they're just going to generate enough aces that it's going to work. And that's never been me. I've just never had that ability for I don't know. I definitely like worked hard on serving, but it's just never been my game. And so I've had to think a lot about that because if I don't, other people are going to serve me out of games. And so, yeah.
Yeah, the serve receive is unbelievable.
Yeah, I'll definitely talk about the thing I will talk about on serve receive is, and I give a lot of credit to Luke Mowry here. He's the guy who created the workout plan. Is doing lots and lots of footwork drills and explosiveness drills because those are really the foundations of like top level serve receive. Obviously, there's a lot. I've already talked a lot about the mental side of like having a game plan against someone. That's still true on serve receive, and it's especially true against amazing servers like Blake, Ryan, Thomas, etc. Yeah,
for sure.
I feel a touch coming on this point. Yeah, that one's worth watching.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I mean,
I just to finish that thought, I give him a lot of credit for my serve receive abilities, or just the working on my athleticism serve receive abilities, like being able to move your feet really fast and being able to generate a lot of power off 1 foot at a time. Because if you don't lunge to get some of these serves really powerfully, you're not going to get it. If you don't have your feet under you, you're not going to get it. Mm-hmm. If you don't have control of your feet, you're not going to get the ball. So that is like, I mean, of course there's just reps, but like I don't live with the Michigan guys. I don't get a chance to practice against them. So it's just like, well, the only thing I can do is just make myself better at those things. And honestly, that was huge on Saturday. I mean, that was like, we played lots of good servers. So I think Vinny got 0 aces against us, which is a testament. Maybe 1, but it's a testament to that.
Yeah, I mean, I know that some people were posting in the Discord, and I think that it's very likely the case that you have just the best ambi receive at this point. You have a lot of value from the width that you have. Your posture is really good, and the footwork has just become so top quality. You both have become very patient on the receive side to kind of wait a little bit and allow Blake or the Michigan guys to kind of do their thing. There's been a few aces, but nothing out of hand.
Yeah.
And I think that I remember going into that finals making the comment that the goal for y'all is for Grant to serve to Vinny as much as possible and for you to receive Vinny as much as possible. And that lends itself to happening. If you just think about
of course,
the format of the game. But yeah. So it's kind of a funny spot where, lo and behold, you can receive Vinny. You've got the width, you've got the footwork, you've got the posture. So
yeah,
love hearing that.
I, all those things are exactly true. Oh my gosh, that was a crazy run that he just went on. And I think he's got I think this is his 4th in a row or something, and they're all insane. Yeah, that's pretty wild. Yeah, no, all that is true. Our arms being long helps us a ton. But one thing I will say actually on the posture is really, really interesting to note. For when I started playing pro, this was like the first year that there was the high rule, and that being wow, that was a sick touch.
Mm-hmm.
That being a factor, thinking about where your shoulders are and that kind of thing. And both Luke, Marshall, and I focused really hard on getting low. We thought if we can be lower, they're going to hit less serves on us. And there's some truth to that. That's not wrong. That's not wrong. But it does mean against really top quality server, if the lower you are, the harder it is to move side to side. I mean, people like Buddy are able to do it around the net. I've tried to play defense like Buddy does. It's so difficult. Just on your hips. It's so much power to generate in a weird position. I don't know how he does it. He's amazing. But the lower you are, it's harder to move side to side with much power, and it's hard to make that final lunge.
Yep.
So you see both Grant and I obviously there's a crouch as an athletic stance, but we're not that low. And that's, at least personally, by intention, because you're going to get beat wide if you aren't fast enough moving side to side. And the patience is the last thing I'll say is Grant. I mean, every time Grant and I play ambi receiver, is probably between every single point we're telling the other person, make sure you're staying patient, stay patient, stay patient. That's if I don't know how mic'd up any of the stream footage, is/was. But you'll hear us say it against Rogue probably every time, especially because they both serve like that. So you got to remind yourself between every point.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. It's a mental thing because their fakes are so good. You really believe them. But
for sure, I agree.
Yeah, it used to not be the case too, which is so annoying. I mean, it makes sense, they're practicing, but that used to not be a factor. It used to the fakes are it kind of just feels like they're putting on a show, and then they actually decide to serve. That is not the case anymore. People have gotten so good at fakes, which is awesome. So staying patient is huge. Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody in the chat want to ask any questions? I mean, that was kind of some of the points that I wanted to touch on with Matt.
Yeah, Matt.
Hey.
Do you still have to pay for the Y-Spike workout plan?
I actually do. Yeah. So I was the first person on the website workout plan, so I have a discount because I was a trial user or whatever. I don't know what the exact thing to say is, but yeah, I paid $10 a month for it, which is a steal. It also means I don't have to pick my own programming, which honestly, just someone going to the gym, at least me, I'm useless at trying to figure out what workouts I want to do. So it's really nice to have it told to me.
That's cool.
Yeah. Would recommend. Not sponsored. I guess they give me discounts. Maybe I am technically.
Alrighty then. I suppose we will get to this rogue footage.
Nice.
Should be fun.
Yeah, that series was pretty wild. It's an amazing series, to be honest. And I obviously I'm a little biased because we won, but it's an amazing series.
I'm gonna do my best to continue kind of following along some of the points and some of the biggest differences that we're seeing. But yeah, like I said, I think you've touched on a lot of like y'all's thought process on making some of the adjustments y'all made. I think that it's kind of one of these spots where we don't really know what the best things to do in some of these more edge case scenarios are. Like obviously serving, it's pretty clear like what the best thing to do is. Defense, not always super clear what the best like decision-making process or decision-making line of reasoning is. Like how should we be teaching players to do, setting from certain spots? And I think that we can start to get a pretty good picture for more and more of these complex spots by watching, y'all play and go from being this team that is cuspy to cuspy winning to now just winning.
Yeah. Well, while you're saying that, I don't know how much is going to resonate for everyone else, but it'll at least resonate for you, Frederick, is like, you know that in a game like poker, the dominant strategy is just to always have aces, to always have the best hand. And like, it's like you said, with serving, you always want to ace that gets you a point, but you're not always going to have that. You're not always going to have aces. You're not always going to, serve and win the point immediately. So then you have to start thinking about your edge cases, and the only way to like be effective if you have like a bad hand and they have a good hand is to like outplay them and think the other person. And that's a matter of reps over, time and time again, playing people. And that's why playing tournaments is so important, even if they're just playing as many tournaments as possible, playing as much pickup as possible, watching film, and then just thinking about what does this person want to do and how am I going to respond to it. I don't know.
I think that right there, like, is just such a hard question, though. Like, to be able to get to the point where you can assess what a player is trying to do with the ball.
Sure.
When they are hitting it, when they are setting it, when they are serving it, whatever, what they want to do with the ball, and for you to just have this understanding that they're going to try and fill in the blank you, makes sense. Like that is a long process. That is a lot of
it's a long process. It really is, and it. I mean, yeah, like I said, I've had the benefit of playing a lot of the same people, just by nature of being able to play in the pro division and then the premier division and then power pools, and it starts to become like, okay, you're playing the same people, and that there's just benefit in that. Like I said, I haven't played a new person in a long time. Like that's the Germans were like one of the newer people I've played. And so I have had the benefit of, if I play Joe 5 times in a season, I'm inevitably on the 5th time, well, hopefully, going to do a better job. And so I definitely like, I don't envy being on the contender grind to get premier, because like you could play a whole season in contender and never play the same person twice, and that's just the reality of it. And that's just a matter of like, you just really want to be solid fundamentally and not make dumb mistakes and play better than the other teams. But at the pro level, that it starts to get down to questions of that.
Yeah, where are you going to get your value from?
Right. I actually really I really feel like one day where I was thinking about things, that was nice. Thinking about things really well was when I played with Ryder, because Ryder he's a very, very smart person when it comes to just like games in general, and he really picks up on things really quickly. Like when we played in system, Ryder and I, Blake got 2 lefty aces, and then Ryder took me aside and was like, we need to take away the left from Blake. You need to cheat his left, and he's not a lefty, but you still need to cheat his left. And he picked up on that so quick, probably like 10 points into the game. And that was the difference. I mean, that was such the difference. Blake had many less aces after that because we had picked up on that, and by we I mean Ryder. So not everyone can be gifted with a mind to like be able to think about things as clearly as he can, but you can play a lot more times and start to see it. So yeah, I mean, again, I feel like I've been saying a lot of the same thing of just like reps is really, really important, but
Yeah, but this is 10 different ways that reps is really, really
yeah,
important.
exactly. Yeah.
Would
Yeah.
you ever post videos of your drills that you do?
To be honest, probably not because unless I made up the drill, then I would, but I wouldn't want to. People, the Wisely Workout Plan, that is like a product that, is worth paying for, and I wouldn't want to undermine that for Luke. So,
do they have spike ball drills on there as well?
No. Fair. I thought you were talking about footwork drills. No. Yeah. Footwork drills, I probably would not post. Spike ball drills, honestly, I don't do a ton of like really fancy stuff. Whenever I do drills with people, we just do like a lot of pepper, like hard pepper. And sometimes we do like really like long rundowns, like just to get practice on taking a ball back to the net. Like one person just hits a ball really far and the other person runs and then set and hit. But I really don't do a ton of fancy stuff when it comes to like actual just drilling skills. It's just a matter of like get a ton of reps and but do it with like intention. Don't just like do pepper just blah 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 blah. Like try and hit a different shot this time than the one you hit last time, and try and get a better hand than you did. It helps to play. It helps to do drills with good people because they can do things. Sometimes Dan will hit a shot when I'm doing drills with him, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never seen that before. And that's great. So, yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, probably, just because it's, again, it's a product worth paying for. I probably wouldn't post on the footwork stuff, but the footwork stuff is huge. That's the foundation of serve receive like we talked about.
That is a hit that I do not have.
Yeah, that was a sick hold.
Yeah, I mean, this is like some of the creativity stuff like that we've always seen from y'all, but that we saw y'all screw up a lot.
Totally.
And now it's pretty pure. Like, there's kind of like a funny question on how much value do you get from Grant just not giving away 2 breaks a game and hitting flicks, or 2 breaks a series and hitting flicks, and then another break or 2 a series and just ripping rim on second?
I was gonna say on the on too.
Like, all of a sudden you're sitting here playing with 3 or 4 extra breaks, and God, what that does for your confidence, like.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. And I definitely won't act like we have not done that this season. There have been times this season where we lost games because of that exact thing. Not blaming Grant, because of that exact thing of just us making mistakes that we shouldn't. And like, on Saturday we were way cleaner than we have been before, and I think a lot of that is because we were just like doing the dominant thing. The dominant strategy being the easy one, not dominant in the sense of like it was always the exact right thing, but it's like do the high percentage thing that we know that we can do, and do it as well as you can, hit the ball as hard as you can, etc. I couldn't tell you why Grant was hitting less flicks, and hitting less on twos into the rim, but he wasn't, and I couldn't tell you why some of the lower percentage shots I'm picking were working, but they were, and obviously both of us practiced a ton between the end of Columbus and this tournament, so something to that, but yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I noted it while we were playing y'all with Gabe. I was like, is he, where's the flick? Like, I went around a few times to play defense on Grant, and he just never hit the flick, and I was like, what's going on? Like, he's supposed to flick here. I'm ready for it.
I was thankful.
But yeah. Also, going back up 2 points here, this lefty from Thomas is like, if you can learn a shot in roundnet, learn this shot. This shot is so good.
Yeah.
Like his little lefty push chorn,
It's yeah.
like it is
Yeah.
so good. And I don't know how he really comes through the ball where he like kind of doesn't hit it, but like I don't know. Learn
No,
how
it's
to do
true.
that, guys. That's one of the best hits in roundnet.
Being able to hit the ball high and away from the defense with both hands is extremely valuable, and Rogue is great at it.
Why do I get hated on for hitting my lefty push all the time on you, Fred?
What?
Every time I've pulled out the lefty push, you've said that's a bad shot. You shouldn't hit that.
Because you don't hit it over my head.
So hitting it like low is bad, but over is good.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of these spots where it's like, if you hit a lefty push or an offhand push, it's generally going to be low. Therefore, I don't really respect the high version of it. So when you can play counter meta, you get a lot of value because we're structuring all of our defenses for the guy on the pull to be hitting it high or to be defending high, and the guy on the push to be defending low. So if we structure our defense one way and you have a shot that doesn't do that, that's an inherently good shot. It's like Rahul hitting the push bomb as well.
I that's really well said. Yeah, you see when we do it pretty aggressively, but a lot of teams set up the push is exactly that. You want to arm bar it. You want to you want to kind of get it up because you know it's going to be low, so you can't like run it down or anything. And then whether you're trying to roof it or put a body on it or run it down, you're assuming the kind of pull or like the around through the body shot is going to be big. Agreed. Yeah.
This is why the buddy backhand is the most effective shot in roundnet. He can rip it low and he can rip it 60 feet.
Yeah.
Right over the defense. True. Like it's so hard to defend the buddy backhand.
That's true.
But yeah, I mean, we've already discussed like the massive amount of value that you two get from high sets because of the trajectory variation you get to play with, and how that has changed over the past few years. Gosh, he thumps it. And what is that touch? And what is that set? Yeah. Great round net.
Gotta hit a little no-hit zone celebration there.
You gotta love Thomas right here. The dejected look.
Yeah, he couldn't believe it.
Yeah, right foot in the no-hit zone though.
Yeah.
Gotta think that's a hinder. All right.
I don't know. Yeah, we didn't call it. I had not I kind of like fell to get the set as opposed to like explosively dived to get the set or dove to get the set. So I didn't think I had it.
Another great receive. You do such a good job staying kind of like with the circle, and then as we start to get more and more information, then allowing yourself to kind of drift back and give yourself time to receive.
Yeah.
So hard to balance that with like giving yourself that time late when you need it and following that circle early before you have complete information on where the ball's going. Oh boy. I don't know if I didn't get the memo, but I'm not sure why everybody kind of like stayed on the reverse this hard.
I couldn't tell you. I haven't had to receive Grant, so I don't have thoughts.
Have you never received clap?
Like no, I have. It was in co-ed, and I feel like the serving strategy is a little different in co-ed, to be honest with you. Even guy on guy. So I wouldn't say I've never received him in open, except for in 2020.
In 2020, yeah, I received him in 2020. 2021, I received him. It was miserable.
That was when you had first started cooking. That's when he first got the reverse, and that, yeah, he gets them moving.
Yeah, I didn't know what his name was.
Right.
And then this kid pulled out the nastiest lefty reverse I've ever seen. I was like, oh, it's gonna be a long series, right?
It's like, oh, here we go. Yeah. Yeah. No, I received him in co-ed, and he did a lot more of like the kind of one-footed stance where he rips the ball on, and so it was kind of a different story. I think I would have a very tough time. So it's freaking terrible.
What was that receive though? We got to talk about the chop block there. In table tennis, this is a chop block where you swing down on the ball, put backspin on it. Oh my goodness!
Yeah, that's so funny. I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen that. Little Scooby-Doo action there from you.
That's funny. Yeah, no, I just lost my footing. I think I got caught in a few places.
Recover well though. Yeah, you definitely want to be hitting this. Oh no. Y'all win this game?
No, this was we were up we were up 17-14, and then they went up 19-17. It was pretty bad. I think we took a timeout like after this point, I'm pretty sure. We were up 17-14, they took a timeout, and then they went on a huge streak against us. Oh yeah,
They tend to do that.
Yeah, I know. That touch was unreal.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely went into this tournament fully expecting my perception of the best team in the world to win the tournament in Rogue. So I was very surprised. And this is my first time watching these series. That's a great hit. Thomas doing a very bad job on the follow.
I was very thankful I feel like Thomas gets this exact this shot often.
I do too.
Like just take like one or two more steps and put a hand out and then hit it right above himself. Like I feel like that's very standard for them.
I would agree firmly. That's why once again I was pretty surprised.
Yeah.
Not to see him there, but I thought you exploit well. You rip it through the gap.
Yeah.
If you hit it hard enough, it's gonna work.
Right.
The classic strategy.
Thomas does a good job, honestly, maybe even a better job than Ryan at moving his body around when he's hitting. Like he uses his body really well, especially for someone who's like not a huge dude. He's tough.
He creates a lot of hinders.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny. When I played Rogue in Columbus, I ate so many hinders. Like, I played through so many hinders against them on defense. I don't know if people... Oh, my word. What a set.
Yeah, that was I'm pretty sure that was the save game. I think this was 2017. Right in the wheelhouse.
Yeah, you do a really good job moving your body out of the way of your arm to make that set. Good footwork. This was one thing that we actually talked about earlier in the stream that we noted that Clapp has done a really good job changing. Clapp used to not really pay attention to his footwork when setting, and it seems now he does a much better job moving his body out of the way of his setting.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I know he's, specifically has practice setting a lot, which shows.
Yeah. Once again, this is me going through and just trying to nitpick everything that they were doing wrong and talk about how they're doing it right. And I mean, the two of you, how you're doing it right to kind of paint the picture of what the process of being perfect versus being a good premier team looks like. And I think those are the finer points where, I mean, you can see it pretty clearly differentiates. And I know that there's the crazy touch and the crazy receive and the crazy serve.
Right.
But y'all already had all of that.
Yeah.
None of that is new.
That's for true.
You've been doing it for years, so surely the crazy serve, the crazy defense, that's not the reason. There's more to it.
I really totally agree. I mean, there was there's definitely truth to Clapp was hitting the crazy serve, once every 4 rather than once every 6 or once every 7 or whatever it is. And so you have that, but you also just there were so many times where the consistency just kept us in the game. Whether it was like I made a serve receive or he made an off-net hit when, maybe he could have easily rimmed it or something like that. I mean, yeah, it's like you said earlier, you're playing with 3 or 4 more breaks a game, even though those are not the flashy things. Also, yeah, I think we go up like 9-0 here. I don't think I do a single thing, which is awesome.
Oh boy.
One really awesome thing, well, awesome for us, really not awesome for Rogue.
Why did they not play that? Oh, okay, second. Good.
I think it was second. Not awesome for Rogue was they kept telling themselves, because Grant would go on these, like, in game 2 and 3, I think he went on like 3 different runs of like 5 tons of points. They kept telling themselves, like, they said it out loud, like, we can do the same, which is so true, and they've done it to teams this whole year. But
they did it to you in game 1.
They did it to us in game 1, and then they did not do it to us a single time in games 2 and 3. And part of that was our serve receive. Part of that was they were a little colder, but like we just never let them do it, which was really, really important. I mean, I think in game 2 and 3, the most points they get in a row is like 3, like a hold and then 2 breaks, something like that. So just mentally, that was massive. Because that they're ready to explode at any time. But if you just like make that, that 1% serve receive against them and make it work, there you go.
Oh wow, that was good. Yeah, if you keep the lid,
Right.
locked. Keep the lid on the jar. Don't let them open the can on you.
That serve receive has to, like, if Grant hits that serve against you, it has to go up.
Yeah, I mean, I could rip into their serve receive footwork. But I don't know how much value that has.
Yeah.
Thomas just not standing in the right spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I, once again, like, I'm really not sure what Marino is thinking here. Lining up that far into the reverse. I think he needs to take much more cut and be prepared to work into the reverse there, but...
Yeah. But like you see on, there's a few serves that like that one. I mean, I don't know who's going to do a great job against that. That's pretty brutal. But like there were a few serves like the one right before that, Thomas got aced on one that,
Yeah,
honestly,
you got to have that.
One, yeah, that one. Like that one, if Thomas gets either one of those up, the run's over, And then now they're putting the pressure back on us. Like those were the differences throughout most of the day. Yeah, that was a great serve. And I'm not trying to take away from the serve, but that's not his banger,
In the legendary words of Connor Prelick, nice jam, kid.
Yeah, right.
Which, I mean, it's not far off.
Right, exactly.
One man's jam is another man's treasure, You got to feel for Marino. There's like 2 or 3 in here that are all on Marino that really do look pretty hopeless.
Right. And there are certainly times, I'm not at all saying there were not times they were hopeless. There are certainly times they were hopeless, and that Grant will do that to people. But there were also times where they weren't, and then because of that, then they let Grant have another chance to do the hopeless, to make the hopeless happen. So it's like you got to do the chances that you do have become even more important against someone who's putting that much pressure on you. It's true against Rogue as well, Like there were
100%.
There were a few serves they hit on me that were like not their top serves, but like easily could have like missed my hand or whatever.
Like, yeah, there's like a diving set or 2 that I don't make against y'all.
Exactly.
And the run keeps going. So no, I totally understand. Like the ability of a team to stop the run with the miracle play that only constitutes a hold has so much value.
Yep.
And I think that Gabe and I did a very good job making the miracle plays, in fact, and that's why those games were close. But once again, I think you got to recognize a gift as a gift, and a gift from Clap is one of the best serves you've seen today.
Right. Oh,
But it's been like that for years, though. I mean, that's nothing new.
right.
And
Yeah,
people have
that was a
beaten
good
him
example
before.
just there. That was a good example. I had a really bad set with my left hand. Yeah, it was terrible. He puts the ball on, keeps us in the point, give them a chance to make an error, or maybe not error, but pretty close to it. Those points happen to us like all day. Whereas like, okay, we don't do the perfect thing. We kind of get it back, figured out, and then let the other team. You just put the ball back on the net. Let them do something. So sorry, what were you gonna say?
This is a point where like the old version of Kingdom Come tries to dot this ball up and leaves it 3 feet short.
Totally.
And this version of Kingdom Come lofts it a little bit and says, "Hey Grant, figure it out."
And he did a great job figuring it out.
He's a pro player, he's gonna make it happen. Once again, the strength of just having a crazy strong hand.
Exactly.
Unreal. Like, I don't know. I don't want to go on my soapbox, but I've preached that for forever. 10 years of stick it on the right hand and just let him swing.
Oh, it's. I mean, you ever watch Rahul play? You know what I mean? Like that's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty standard stuff. I mean, once again, these are power players, pro players. Stick it on the right hand, let him figure it out, or for Grant, the left hand.
Right.
And y'all do a great job of it. Oh, that's really good. That is really good.
Thomas did a great job this whole series of like, whenever he had someone ISO'd, like isolated, it was over. I mean, he's so good at that. I don't know how many touches we got on him when he was isolated. Probably 0. I don't even not even a convert, like a touch.
Oh yeah, no, it's a total nightmare. And it's so hard to like not ISO Thomas because whenever you don't ISO Thomas, he has so much hitting like depth.
Yeah.
That there's always just so much open.
Yep.
He does a really good job finding it, so really tough to defend Thomas. I don't know. Like I said, I took a bunch of hinders. Let me rephrase. I played through a bunch of hinders against him in Columbus when I got touches on him there. But otherwise, I don't think I would have found touches on him.
Yeah. I'm probably going to hop off pretty soon, next few minutes. I'm happy to, if anyone has anything they're curious about, I'll happily share.
Matt, going into this past weekend, was there any specific team that you guys did not want to face?
It's a good question. Not really. I always get a little worried to play someone that I feel like Clap has a hard time mentally with. The people in my mind are like Justin. Bad combo because of Will. Will's just like, he just talks the whole time and is, chirping. And then Justin, not because Justin does that, but because he's, Clap's best friend and has played him a ton of times. And Grant has this thing sometimes where he's like, if he thinks someone has seen his serves a lot, he starts to like go for the even crazier stuff and then, start missing a lot. So like in my head, I was like a little worried about that. I personally was worried about playing the Germans and the Austrians because I had never seen them before. And like I've talked, you're probably tired of hearing it at this point. I'm someone who just like really, really thrives on like knowing what I'm going to be doing. And I didn't know what I was going to be doing against them. So I was worried about that, but like we have known since we teamed up that we have the capability to beat any team if we play our game. So there wasn't like a ton of like, oh, if we match up against XYZ, that's just a terrible matchup for us, and it's very unlikely that we win. It was always just a matter in my mind of like, if we just play our game as we're supposed to play it, we can win. So, yeah.
It's interesting that you didn't necessarily want to play the Euros.
Yeah, I was really excited to, for the fact of like, so cool at his international tournament. they're wonderful people. Like I was excited about all of that, but just me as a player, I knew that going in, it was going to be a bit of a challenge for me, and that's okay.
Yeah, I thought y'all played him pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, all these considered,
great fundamentals.
First game of the day for against the Germans, and then against the Austrians, Grant served really well. Like all things considered, I think we did like a decent job. Things I would have changed for sure, but they're both great teams.
Alrighty. Well, congratulations. I'm sure you'll sure y'all will have another fun year. I'm guessing you two intend to play more roundnet next year.
Definitely. Yeah, we'll see. I'm excited to defend the title. Highlight video will come out pretty soon, which will be really fun. But yeah, oh wow, that service, it was awesome. That's
a really good touch.
But yeah, no. Thank you, Frederick. Thank you for putting this together and for talking it through with me. Obviously, this is not the first time that you and I have done this, but it's cool to do it and people can listen. I hope it was somewhat valuable. I feel like I'm not as good at being clear with my communication as you are, but I was just kind of sharing my thoughts, and hopefully that was something.
No, I think you've done an amazing job, kind of like walking through what the process looks like for making the jump. I think that is something that, if you ask most players that are in Premier and are playing RoundNet what they want to do, I think most people will tell you they want to make Pro or they want to make Elite or something along these lines. And I think that, like, these are the hard things to do. One, make Pro, and then two, even harder, make Elite. And when you do it, there's always has to be the question and the analysis of how did you do it? Where did this value come from?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
No, totally. Yeah, it's I think it's kind of like this might not be the case anymore. It probably in like 2022, 2021, 2022, it used to be kind of the case that it was like cool. This is more 2021. It was cool to like not practice. It was cool to be like the Preston and never play and show up to a tournament and beat everyone, and just because like you were just that much better or whatever that was. I'm not trying to roast Preston specifically, but that was just like a common thing. Nowadays, that's just not the case. Every person who is in pro has put in so many hours, more than you probably even realize. And whether that looks like time in the gym, time watching film, time talking, speaking out loud about strategy, or time just touching a ball, doing serves. That's the thing, it's more than you realize these pro players are working. So, yeah.
Yeah, that is for sure. That's the legendary meme strikes again. Start practicing harder.
Right. Unless your name is Ryder, then I don't know. You're
built different.
But
I mean, yeah, you are staring down a more successful RoundNet career than Ryder. So
that's fair enough. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone. You guys know where to find me on Discord if you guys have any more questions. But have a great night, everyone. Bye.
Bye, Matt. Thanks a ton.
Yeah. Thanks.
Alrighty. We are wrapping up game 2 on here. We should see Clapp finishing out this game. I know that he has just a ton of aces. Again, their money's worth out of this 5-minute injury timeout that Clapp's taken for his quad. And just to highlight a few more things, like, we'll continue to talk about this improved and continued more dynamic receive that we see from Matt. I don't know if we want to do another one of these sessions to go through semis and finals. And excited to see Matt receive Vinny. See this 0 aces from Vinny in 3 games. Or in 2 games, not 3. Such a good decision to go high there. Does Clap continue to just spank here? Is that how this game goes? I don't know. I haven't seen. Oh boy.
Yeah, having recorded this game, it was bad.
Is that Noah?
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen a lot of like pretty nuts serves from Clap. Gabe had mentioned that this net was insane the night before.
Hmm.
And Clap kind of said, bet this net's actually insane. Pretty
Yeah,
good
'cause,
effort there from Tommy.
I mean, if I remember correctly, in this game, Grant just starts off with like 3 breaks, and then Rogue calls a timeout, trying to stop it like they had done in a previous game, and it just did not work this time.
It looks like Matt is the one doing the damage, though.
Yeah, Matt went on a run in this game. I feel like some of them might have been mistakes by Bruno and Tom, but
No doubt. What just happened there? Did I miss a touch? Oh, off of the arm. What a set. Sheesh. Thomas just nowhere near wide enough for the cut. Which feels ridiculous considering how far wide he is. But I would say even Marino here, not nearly wide enough for the cut. And then he gets a meatball and shanks it. There you go. That's what you're looking to do. Oh my goodness. This is something interesting, because, like, Clap is doing an unbelievable job with his hands. He did this to us, too. He did this all day. He did it to Insystem. Just really reading the hitter's trajectories perfectly. This is getting out of hand here. That's how it ends. Tommy needs a bunch. And obviously he's not going to get him. Not the best set from Tommy, but allows the ISO from Marino. Oh, that's amazing. Huge step back cut.
this is just my opinion, but I feel like that's Marino's best serve.
Oh, no doubt. Definitely the best combo, the step back and then into the left hand or the lefty reverse. Coming out with that as the initial lead. It's just so hard to balance your footwork there. Really tough to find like that middle point of where you should be standing to receive everything. And also the timing of it's really tough. There's a lot of foot strikes that have to be perfect because there's so many opportunities for him to hit the ball that if you start falling behind, you really start to turn into Matt in that last point. It's definitely Marino's most complicated line of fakes. Oh my goodness gracious.
Not set.
Well, I mean, I'm even more impressed by the touch. Like, this is Thomas doing his thing where he goes for that little pull flick thing as you slide across to fill the push that he likes to hit with your big body. And then he's able to tug that pull around you, but Clap sticks out the hand, gets the touch, and then Matt does the fun part. Did he just miss that hit?
No.
That's a cool hit. Unbelievable receive. These are great decisions from Rogue on defense as well, I'll point out. Like, this is exactly how I would move if I were the two defenders on Rogue. If I'm Tommy, I might come back in there. And if I'm Marino, I might come back in. But those are like the decisions that you want to be making. They're not doing anything wrong. It's really good offense. Yeah, that's classic Thomas. Hit that little push there. I feel like Marino is swinging for a lot.
I don't think Thomas was hitting as much throughout the day, so Marino might have felt a little more pressure to get things.
Here we are again. You have to think Rogue is just absolutely thrilled for Grant to go to the right hand. Oh boy. That was rough. I can keep going on for semis, or we could do that another day. What are y'all feeling? Okay, I'm probably going to do semis and finals another day.
Feels like bedtime.
Yeah, it does feel like bedtime. I actually just have like some straight up work to do, so probably best for me to cut this one. I hope this has been good. We can talk a little bit more about my interactions in semis. I can give a little bit more context about what we're trying to do to them, what they're trying to do to us, as opposed to me making assumptions and me talking about what baseline should look like and what deviations our opponents are making from baseline. But obviously getting Matt's perspective is super awesome and throughout this, as he has such a strong understanding of what they're trying to do. Let me rephrase, what other teams are trying to do to them in the moment as we watch through some of these, and how he made the jump from being, very good to the best. So, always a fun discussion. Hope everybody's enjoyed it. I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing my screen. And here soon we will stop the recording.
Thanks, Fred.
Another sweet film review session, Fred. Thanks a bunch.
Yes, of course. Yeah, my pleasure. I'm glad y'all enjoyed it. I hope it benefits y'all.
You got to change your Discord to dark mode, though. I'm sure
No, I
that
like light
burns your
mode.
eyes.
That's the meta. That's how you stay awake. I'm not trying to fall asleep.
Thanks, Fred.
Of course, y'all.
Well, thanks again. I'm gonna hop off.